out of Akron, Ohio, representing Team Popping the Boys, the headline god, Jeremy Lambert, and his co-host, speaking out of Atlanta, Georgia, representing more than one royal family, the king of indie viewing, Stephen Jensen. And this is the Spotlight on Fightful.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Spotlight here on Fightful. I am Jeremy Lambert. That is Stephen Jensen. It is Thursday, January 11th, and we are here to talk about all the news in wrestling from this past week and, the week ahead as well. It's a busy weekend, Jensen, a busy weekend of professional wrestling. We're going to preview that. We're going to talk a little TNA Hard to Kill, little maybe New Japan Battle in the Valley. That's a stacked lineup this weekend. We got this past week to look back on, including CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, including the Young Bucks returning, including Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe. Stephen Jensen, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good, and shout out to Big Dick MLJ for the intro. Thank you very much. As always, Emil. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Just waking up this morning. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about, as you mentioned. I'm looking forward to talking some wrestling, man. It was a big week for you on social media, so that was cool. Congratulations.
I guess.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I don't like getting all these dorks in my mentions on social media. I don't, but this is what happens when you just do bits and pop yourself on Twitter. People just take it very seriously. Today, I'm going to tweet that Eric Bischoff was right, and then we'll see how that goes for me.
No, geez.
That's a spoiler for everybody. See, everybody here who watches the Spotlight gets the exclusive of you guys know what's going to be coming later on this afternoon, unless something else big happens and I got to reverse course and change things up. But yeah, today I'm just going to tweet Eric Bischoff was right, and then see how it goes for me.
That's good stuff. I saw you were one of the few people that Tony Khan actually responded to during the whole thing the other day. So he was like,
you just got to mention cage match. Tony will defend or praise cage match no matter what. I'll give myself credit all the time. I was very proud of that. Eric could have found this information on cage match tweet because it's true. He could have just looked at cage match and found it. And yeah, as Tony replied, the irony of it. It's he could have just easily found that one. Yeah, cage match rules. Shout out Spurs. By the way, guys, leave a super chat, get your question, comment, statement read on the air. We're very interactive with the chat regardless, but super chat money helps support the show, helps support the channel. We appreciate that. Leave a thumbs up on the video if you don't mind that. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Subscribe to Fightful Overbooked if you haven't already. I'll do big plugs at the end, but we got big interviews with Kushida, Jody Threat, and Matt Cross on Fightful Overbooked from In the Weeds this past week, and we're supposed to have more guests tomorrow, hopefully. So subscribe to Fightful Overbooked, subscribe to this channel, leave a thumbs up, leave a super chat if you would like. But cage match does rule. I use cage match for every single day. Almost every article I write, I probably look at cage match and is when's the last time this guy wrestled? Did this guy wrestle this person? I always cite cage match. It's fantastic.
It is. Yeah. I use it often for the Weekender. That's super valuable for the Weekender podcast because there's a lot of matches that may not be televised or maybe, pre-taped or whatever. And cage match will usually have that also. They'll have the spoilers for stuff before most people. So, but yeah, it's a great resource. It's not always 100% accurate. You can't always use it as the Bible. It's not always right, but it's usually right. And yeah, so I every now and then we'll get someone on this show that'll do some research on, and it'll be this wrestler hasn't wrestled for this many years, and I'm I know I've seen them wrestle, and in that time frame I have seen them live, so this can't be right. But usually cage match is a really, really, really good resource for pretty much everything. So I thought that was so funny how so much of that got started by USA Network, basically being the troll account for the WWE, and then this all. And
it's nobody that works
of course
at WWE. It's somebody at USA Network who's obviously a wrestling fan because he knows enough to cite cage match and knows it's a dig at Tony Khan. like it's a wrestling fan who just works at USA Network. Andrew Zarian told me it's not an intern, so I can't make the intern joke anymore. But it's just somebody who works at USA Network who has nothing to do with WWE. He's like, let me just pop myself here, and then did that, and then Tony replied. I thought it was funny. I'm all for bullshit tweeting because I do plenty of that.
I mean, whoever's behind that account is like just a wrestling fan like us for sure, because I've seen that account mention people that do shows for Fightful before. Like he's
same with the Fox account. Like the Fox account would do that. So yeah.
Well, maybe that's what I was thinking. It was maybe the Fox account. Maybe both actually.
I do think USA Network has like mentioned Sour Graps before.
Yeah. So I mean, sorry, you were muted for a second. So yeah, that's cool. I just think it's funny. I think it's funny how just riled up everyone gets over all that stuff, and how just like little jokes can just become such crazy fights for people online. I didn't even know any of that was even going on until we were recording our interview with Colin Tessier, which will be later today, that you guys can hear that. But like while we were recording it on Tuesday, I hadn't been on Twitter all day. So Jeremy was starting to fill me in. Then after our interview, I started catching up, and I was like, Maggie, hey, it says, hey everyone, leave a thumbs up in the video.
I just put that up so for our visual people who wanted to read that, and then you see Maggie as well. Hopefully Maggie's face will bring people to leave us thumbs up and super chats.
Yes. And by the way, for everyone asking, and I know Maggie is especially interested, I still have not had my offer for my promotion. It's taking forever.
We gotta storm this place, Jensen. Dude, we're gonna have to storm. We're gonna have to storm your workplace and be like, give us an answer now.
Well, I'm gonna talk to them again either today or tomorrow, like before the weekend, because I took off MLK. I'm not gonna be working on Monday, so like I won't even know till Tuesday in that case. But I will say this: who would become my new boss has messaged me again. I know I said this probably a week or so ago. Like I got another update like 2 or 3 days ago of them literally saying like, hey, HR is taking forever. Just like HR is taking forever, wink, wink. It's just taking forever. And I was like, okay, like if that's, I don't know why you would be telling me how long HR is taking to approve something if I wasn't the person getting the job. You know what I mean? That'd be very weird to keep me in the loop about this.
Yeah.
And I also know there have been other people that interviewed that have messaged me recently and just been like, hey, have you heard anything since so-and-so date? Because like, I didn't even get a second interview. And like, I did get another, you know what I mean? So I know that a lot of the people that were candidates didn't get offered the job or have already been told they weren't going to get it. So it's one of those things where it's like, I was literally told by somebody, she told me I've worked for the company for 22 years. And this is the longest I've seen it take to approve somebody for a job change in the company. And I was like, awesome. Glad that's happening to me. But like, but once again, it's just one of those things. Like I appreciate all the support. I appreciate people reaching out. And if they don't give me the promotion, you'll know about that also, because I'll be like going crazy on this.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely storm then and fight all of these people. We're threatening now to just get an answer, but if it doesn't happen, making you wait that long, yeah, we're 100% storming the offices.
Yeah, I agree. So I appreciate that, y'all. But hopefully, I know I keep saying it every week. Hopefully by next Thursday, I can definitively tell y'all something. But in my last conversation with who would become my new boss, they essentially apologized for how long it was taking. And I even told them, I was like, hey, I have like friends and family that like keep asking me, like, so this is getting kind of embarrassing. Like what's going on? And they gave me a big heart emoji and said, I'm so sorry. Like just stick with it basically. So anyway, but to make a long story short, the company that I work for was recently purchased right around the end of the year. So it's a whole different HR team. And I'm apparently one of the first people that would be getting a new job role within the company since the company has merged. So apparently it's just a gigantic lag of getting everything done. So anyway, Maggie said a heart emoji. Yeah, my boss sent me a big giant heart emoji in a message the other day. It was just like, I'm so sorry. This is a giant heart. And I was like, yeah. I was like, thanks. I work with pretty much all women. So they're all very like, I don't know what the right word is. They're like empathetic. I don't know if that's the right. Like they're very like, I'm sorry this is happening. I'm sorry. Like, yeah. But usually when I work with dudes, they're like, dude, deal with it or not. You know what I mean? But like, so it's a little bit different with that too. Which is nice. I feel like they actually care. That's kind of a good feeling. But anyways, Maggie's like, Jesus fucking Christ. I know. We'll talk about wrestling. We'll move on. I'll keep you updated on the job later on.
Let's start here. Shy-Town Sparrow says, I hope Nick Jackson only speaks in pretend French with his goofy mustache. We will start there, everybody. And you know what? In honor of the Young Bucks returning.
I'm old and I'm fucking tired and I work with fucking children. I'm tired of wrestling these kids that think they know everything.
Sting, he's old. He looked fucking tired after that match last night, and now he's gonna be working with children. The Young Bucks interrupted Sting's little promo, and it looks like we're setting up Sting and Darby Allin against the Young Bucks as Sting's final match at AEW Revolution. One, what'd you make of the Young Bucks look? Two, what do you think of the Young Bucks being the final match for Sting?
So, well, first of all, I want to say I really hope Sting's okay because it took him a while to stand up after that match. Now, ironically enough, I don't have proof of this, but last night I was watching AEW with my brother and my friend Mike, which usually the three of us are watching AEW. We went to Dave & Buster's actually for a little while first, and then then came back here and watched some AEW. And literally before the last move of that match, because Darby did the big coffin drop from the entrance, from the set. And the camera had gone away from Sting for a while. So I was saying to them, I was like, where's Sting? Sting's probably climbed something and Sting's going to jump. This is time for Sting to do a big jump. And he didn't. And I was like, oh, okay. And I literally said to them, I said, okay, cool. They're probably just making sure Sting stays healthy because he's got to get through, February. He's just got to get through retirement. Don't take any big risks, have Darby take the risks. And the next move was Sting doing the Scorpion Death Drop through the table off of that thing, and not even be able to do that. I'm sure y'all noticed, but he couldn't even cover, couldn't make the cover.
Yeah.
He just kind of crawled backwards.
Fist. Yeah.
I mean,
fist on Hobbs,
and then he couldn't stand, and it was okay, and when you see the replay, Sting had to have hit that table on the corner or something because it doesn't really break, and it's this whiplash effect where his neck and his head, and then his head hits the ground. So I was like, is this his back? Is this his neck? Is this his head? Is this a combination of all of it? We already saw what happened with the Rollins match where he had the delayed reaction where he got the buckle bomb and he kind of kicked out for a second and then fell over, and it was really scary. And that's the kind of stuff that I think about with Sting too, is with a history of that happening before. And then you see the way his neck snapped and everything last night. I was really afraid something had really gone wrong because he wasn't standing up. And then more referees and people were checking on him and stuff. The camera wasn't cutting in on him. Tony Schiavone's standing around in the ring with the microphone because he's waiting to do the interview after the match, and they probably don't know if Sting's gonna be able to do the interview because he can't stand. But luckily, at some point, the feeling must have come back or something because he shot up off the ground and the crowd went nuts. They were like, okay, good, Sting's okay. But then the Young Bucks make their return, looking different for sure, rocking the mustaches, the black and the white contrast, I guess. But personally speaking, I would have liked for the final Sting match to be Sting versus Darby 1-on-1. Just Darby, beat Sting on the way out. That's just kind of the perfect. For those of you who are familiar with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, this would be a perfect Thunder Sun moment, the literal handing of the torch from one generation to the next. But I'd imagine that comes down to Sting probably not being up for doing a singles match, I would guess. I don't know if his body can take it. And I'd imagine this is also why Sting is choosing to retire when he's choosing to retire. I think he's realizing I've been able to do this forever. And then year after year, it's been I'll get past this year. But that's been happening for 15 years now. Of all right, just one more year. All right, just one more contract. All right, just one more year. And then and I think at this point, he's just my body's about to just shut down if I keep doing this. So I could imagine that it's probably just not going to be. I imagine that's why it isn't Sting and Darby in a singles match. And for it to be the Young Bucks, it makes sense. I mean, it's a tag team. They've never wrestled. And the Young Bucks need something big, I feel like, also right now. They're kind of like stuck in like kind of no man's land, but they really should be. I mean, they're the Young Bucks still. They're still, in my opinion, one of if not the best tag team in the world in ring. And they're still EVPs in the company. They're still the E in all elite wrestling. So, and it'll be a banger match. Like the Young Bucks will make Sting look incredible out there, and Darby's going to do crazy stuff with the two of those dudes too. So, like, I think it's probably. I would have, once again, I'll just say I would have preferred it with Sting and Darby one-on-one, but if Sting is not able to, do a singles match, this is probably the best option.
Yeah, I'm really not sure if Sting can get through a singles match. And Darby would be an easy opponent because he'd just bump all around Sting. He wouldn't have to do a whole lot, but Sting was looking a little rough last night. Even the setup to the death drop, and it was off that staging onto the tables, but like it took a while to even like get it set up. And I didn't know if that was on Hobbs, who was not positioning correctly, or Sting just couldn't get him positioned correctly, but it took a while. It took him a while to get up. Fortunately, he did get up. The Bucks make sense. I would imagine Sting had a big say in who he was going to face. I don't think this is the match that Tony Khan picked and is like, this is it. This is your final match. We want to get the Bucks this heel heat against you. So this is what we're going to do. And Sting just had no say in it. Tony Khan has way too much respect for Sting. If you listen to any interview Tony Khan has done speaking about Sting, there's way too much respect there for him not to be like, what do you want to do, Sting? Right. Like, what makes sense to you? And I think that Sting had a big say in wanting to face the Bucks because the Bucks are considered by many, and maybe Sting is one of the many, the best tag team in the last decade or so. Like, and the Bucks are also considered by many, again, Sting might be one of the many, who the Bucks can make look very good. Because the Bucks, much like Darby, are gonna bump around. They're not afraid to show a little ass and just do a bunch of wacky sells and it looks stupid as Sting just kind of stands there and throws backhand chops and punches and clotheslines and stuff. So the Bucks will make the match look very good. And then, I don't think Sting's getting pinned, but maybe he does want to go out the way that a lot of wrestlers do end up going out, leaving the territory, go out on your back type of thing. Again, I would imagine Sting has a big say in how he wants to go out. If he wants to go out on his back, he'll go out on his back. If he wants to win, he will win.
Yeah. Excuse me. I completely agree. And, I honestly think it's like a good chance that Sting and Darby will win. I really do. Like, just I mean, it really depends on what they're trying to do with the Young Bucks.
I think it would be not a mistake per se. I think the Bucks should win though, because the Bucks are heels. They're going to be heels all leading up to this. They're going to be smarmy assholes leading up to it and then coming out of it. If they get that claim, we retired Sting, we beat Sting, we're the only team that beat Sting, that's going to make them even bigger jerks to everyone else. And I mean, Shadtown Spurs says Sting facing the Bucks makes a lot worse voices and angry. A lot of the worst voices in wrestling angry, which makes it an automatic win. If the Bucks win, those voices are going to be even angrier.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah, I don't know. And that actually makes it for an even more interesting match. Because if it was like Sting and Darby, for instance, I would just go in like assuming that Darby was going to win. But I'm really not sure who's going to win this match. I think it would make sense for the Young Bucks to win as heels and go on to like do something bigger going forward again in the company for sure. Like the Young Bucks could definitely use another jump start for sure. But I don't know. It's just kind of a random match though also, like in a lot of ways. Just like, so I'm interested to see the build, from now until Revolution. I think we're going to get some good stuff in the build up. I think the match itself will actually be really good. Like there's no way the Young Bucks are going to put that on their, like, they're not going to accept this responsibility of Sting's last match and not give him the best send off possible. And Darby's going to be the same way. So, my prediction as of right now, though, is I think Sting and Darby are going to win. I think it's just Sting. I think Sting and Darby, like Sting goes out, rides off in the sunset. But once again, I think if it was a singles match, they could have used it as a device to get over Darby as like a one-on-one match. But once again, I understand if Sting can't do the singles match. I totally get that.
I think the Bucks are going to win, and I think they're going to win because it kind of a better story if the Bucks as heels win. Darby's going to be off TV for a little bit afterwards if he's climbing Everest, because that's supposed to be in April. I know that would give him the whole rest of March, but like you got to prepare a little bit for that thing. I know he's in the middle of preparing, but you got to prepare even more as it gets closer. So I think Darby's going to be off TV for a little while afterwards. Yeah, I think the Bucks are going to win, and I think it's going to give them actual heel heat, actual like fodder that essentially Baron Corbin should have had when he retired Kurt Angle, but they didn't follow up on that at all, and it was lame and no one cared. And yeah, Angle didn't even want that to be his last match. Again, I think Sting had plenty of say in facing the Young Bucks in his last match because he's wrestled a lot of tag teams throughout this run with AEW. He hasn't wrestled the Young Bucks, so it's something new for him. It's something different, and I think the Bucks are going to win.
Yeah, I think those are all. I think everything you just said is very, very possible and makes total sense. So I can see that too.
Tommy asking, can they get the titles on the Young Bucks before the tag team match? I mean, theoretically they can. It's not like anyone's stopping them. You know, Tony replied to my tweet about cage match. I also asked him to give Sting and Darby a tag team title match because Tony wanted to cite records when it came to Hook and Jinder Mahal. And I'm like, we're talking about records. Sting's undefeated. Why isn't he getting a tag team title match? That one went ignored by Tony. But
that's
yeah,
a good point though.
They should have had a tag team title match a long time ago, but they just don't for some reason. It's possible they can always get the tag team titles on the Bucks by that point. They can get the tag team titles on Sting and Darby by that point. Like there's plenty of shows. It's not like they're lacking for a television show to put that out there. So I don't think we're going to see that, by the way, but it's not fully out of the realm of possibility.
You know, I would say that would be, I like that idea though, Tommy. Like I would like the idea of the Young Bucks winning the titles and Sting and Darby potentially winning the titles in Sting's last match. But then of course it creates the problem of like what to do with the titles after, and AEW's already got enough tournaments and stuff like that. But
yeah, but if I don't think they should have them for the last match. If you put them on Sting and Darby ahead of it and then the Bucks win, then okay, and the Bucks win the titles off of that, then I'm fine with it.
Right. Well, I was saying if it was the other way around, like if the Bucks went into the match as champions, then I would think Sting and Darby would probably win as like them going out with Sting getting the title on the way out with Darby. I just feel like, I guess the reason that I'm considering so heavily the idea of Sting winning on the way out is because I think in a perfect world, it would have been him and Darby. And I know I'm getting kind of stuck on that, but I think that like that would have been their opportunity to like put someone over. Like if they were going to really put someone over, it would have been him after all this time of them being partners. And if it can't be Darby, like why not make the story Sting and Darby winning the titles together? Like they finally like accomplished like the big goal together, and Sting has nothing left to, like there's nothing left for Sting to do. If he can't wrestle singles matches, like the tag team titles is the pinnacle of what he can achieve, you know, in AEW really title belt wise. So I think that if you got the titles involved, whether they were on Sting and Darby or on the Young Bucks heading into the pay-per-view, I think that would actually add a lot more to the match and the story and everything personally. So I hadn't even considered that possibility really, Tommy. So I like that you brought that up. I think that's a really good idea. But one of these two teams being the champions.
Big Man Dog says you can do a storyline of Darby and Sting retiring with the tag belts. Darby has to look for a new partner. It has to be quick. Again, if he's going to climb Everest in April, like you can't have the tag titles on him when he's going to be gone at least a month off of that. So that's why I don't think like the tag titles are going to be on Sting and Darby unless it is, hey, we win, let's retire. Sting's retiring. Let's vacate the tag team titles. But I don't feel like that does a whole lot for the tag team titles and a division that needs any life it can right now.
Fair.
Not fair. A tournament. We don't need more tournaments.
No, I agree. I agree with that for sure.
Don't need more tournaments. Anything else on the Bucks, Sting, Darby?
Oh no, we can move on to the next AEW topic. We'll cover Sting and Darby as there's more build to the match and then the match itself, of course.
Tommy's programming our show. Love Samoa Joe segment. He feels like a world champion and main eventer. Loves everyone gunning for him. I'm stoked for this next season of AEW. So Samoa Joe, the new AEW World Champion, comes out with a new AEW World title. And he's like, no longer do you got to come out here and air your grievances Do you got to make your hoe-ass comments on social media? That popped me so much. You got to make your hoe-ass comments on social media. Come out here, bring your record, bring your reputation, and come get your ass kicked by the reigning world heavyweight champion. That brings out Swerve. That brings out Hangman. That brings out Hook. So we've already got 3 challengers lined up for Samoa Joe. Hook's got his title shot next week. We'll see what happens with Swerve and Hangman. Swerve's got a better claim than Hangman. Swerve's got 2 head-to-head victories against Hangman. Hangman's got to screw off for a little bit. I love Hangman, but he's a little back of the line compared to Swerve. Samoa Joe, not playing any games. He just says, come out here. If you think you deserve it, then you can get your title shot. What'd you make of this segment and Samoa Joe's first big promo as champion?
This was great. I was skeptical somewhat in Samoa Joe becoming the champion for AEW, and that has nothing to do with Samoa Joe himself. I've said plenty of times on this show, Samoa Joe is a made man. He's an absolute legend. Like, he always has the credibility of being Samoa Joe. Like, I just didn't know if that, like, I guess, and this is on me, to be fair, in my own head, I envisioned MJF's world title reign to be like completely different than what we got. You know what I mean? I didn't expect a face turn. I didn't expect I definitely didn't expect Samoa Joe to be the guy to beat him. I figured it'd be maybe one of the pillars eventually or something. I expected this whole, bidding war of 24 stuff to be much heavier around this time. And I was totally off about all that, as I think a lot of us were. But now that we're at where we're at with Samoa Joe with that title, I'm loving where we're at now, because Samoa Joe's attitude towards being the champion is different than a lot of heel champions. And Samoa Joe's not even a heel, depending on really how you view him. I mean, he is a heel, especially with turning on MJF the way that he did. But, like, it's very respectable that you hold the top title and you're calling people out and saying, like if you want this, you know where to find me. I'll fight the number 1 contenders. Throw your names in the hat. Like, I'm not ducking anybody. Like, I want to be the main person with the main championship. He's going on social media and saying, doing interviews and stuff, and he's saying, like, look, I want the focus of this company and this title and what I'm doing to be what you're seeing on the television show and in the ring, not all this backstage BS, not all these rumors and this and that. Like, I want to bring back attention to the pro wrestling and this world title belt. And I really respect that approach to it. I think that's badass. And the challengers he's already got, you got Hook, which, I mean, that's going to be interesting at the very least, because,
Joe should destroy him.
I mean, I think Joe's definitely going to beat him.
I think he should beat him in about 30 seconds.
Really?
I know people will probably get mad at that, but, like, Hook, I like Hook. One, he's very young. So it's not like he has a long career ahead of him. Hook hasn't beaten anybody. Wheeler Yuta in a street fight is probably his biggest win, right?
Jungle Boy.
Oh yeah, he beat Jungle. That again, street fight.
Yeah.
Most of his wins have been kind of street fight, no DQ, because it's been FTW title. I think Samoa Joe should destroy him just to basically show there's levels to this game. All right, cool. You're doing your little pre-show no DQ matches and beating these guys. That's cool. You step in the ring with a 20-year vet and in a straight up singles match, you get destroyed. And then I think that'll help with Hook's growth a little bit of okay, I can't just step up to this man almost out of nowhere. I don't have an issue with Hook getting this title shot. By the way, I think Tony was, overselling how much people actually disliked Hook getting this title shot. I think, I'm all for Hook getting this title shot, but I also think that Hook should get destroyed in this match.
Well, I also think that if that happens, they should just go ahead and stop using the FTW title belt on television. And I've been saying that for a while, especially if there's going to be a continental title and an international title and a TNT title, why is there also this FTW title? I get the history of ECW. I thought it was cool back then. It's an unrecognized championship that's definitely recognized. So I don't know, you know what I mean? But so I'm with you as far as I definitely think Samoa Joe should beat Hook. And if he destroys him, they need to stop. They just need to take that television or that title off TV. It's just pointless at that point, in my personal opinion. I'm very interested to see Hangman versus Samoa Joe and Swerve versus Samoa Joe. I think both of those matchups would be great.
Man, I felt bad for Hangman last night.
Why is that?
I've been saying for months this guy should be, and a lot of people have, this guy should be like top baby face, like number one baby face in the company. And he felt like the third baby face in the ring. Like
that's why I was thinking heel, because like he's not getting the same reactions as
especially at Daly's place too. Like that's kind of home territory for Hangman. And like Swerve was getting more cheers when he's supposed to be the heel, and Joe was getting more cheers when he's technically the heel. Like I felt bad for Hangman. I was like, oh man, Hangman should have. And this is an issue when you haven't pushed this guy as much as you should have as the top babyface. Like the Daly's place was more excited to see guys and they just haven't seen. Like they're like, oh, we haven't seen. Yeah, crowd kind of groaned when Hangman came out like that. It kind of sucked. Jeff Elliott Driver saying he's turning heel seems obvious to me. He has the stash like the Bucks. That feels like a mistake. That feels like a mistake to turn Hangman heel.
They got a lot of decisions to make with Hangman and with all these guys really, and with Samoa Joe because of like his a great opportunity they have with Samoa Joe here is he can really be more of a tweener than anything. Like you don't really have to be a heel or a babyface if you're the guy who's just the top in the game and calling, and just anyone can get it. Like you're not prejudiced towards any. It doesn't matter if you're a good guy or a bad guy. Like you want this title, I'll beat you up and keep it. Like. I love that. So it opens up for a whole bunch of different types of challengers for Samoa Joe and a whole bunch of different scenarios and stories, including, Maggie's not going to like hearing this, but then the person he didn't mention is Wardlow, who they keep mentioning will become the champion with the help of Adam Cole. Adam Cole cut the same promo.
Yeah, it was the exact same promo.
Yeah. That's already becoming concerning.
Yeah.
Like where this group's already at. My brother last week, I didn't mention this, but like the Undisputed Kingdom came out at the beginning of last week and they did the whole thing like, I'm Adam Cole and this is what I'm doing and this is Roderick Strong and this is what he is doing and blah, blah, blah. And then like a little bit later in the show, the Patriarchy came out dressed in all black, like Christian, Nick Wayne. And my brother turned to me and was like, didn't we see this already? Because it was like this, he was like, and then like Christian came out and was like, I'm Christian, and this is what we're doing, and this is Nick Wayne, and that's what he's up to, and this is Mama Wayne. And this, my brother was like, wasn't this already on the show? And I was like, oh, that's kind of a good point. Like it's kind of similar, but the Wardlow, I don't know. Like I think you might have brought it up last week. I'm dead on the or it's not dead, but I'm stuck now on the idea of Kyle O'Reilly like jumping out Wardlow from my group when he returns. Like I can't get that out of my head now. So I'm thinking that maybe Wardlow doesn't last in this group. I can't imagine you would join a group and be like, if it's storyline purpose, like you're for your own character. Like you put yourself back in the same situation you've already been in. Now they're just saying like, we appreciate Wardlow. Well, that's what the Pinnacle said too back then. Like that's what MJF said all those years. Like, dude, you're in the same spot you were. I mean, you're going backwards again. And all they're talking about is we're going to help you win the title so you can hand it to Adam Cole when he's ready. Why would anybody sign up for that? It just seems like a weird. Why would Wardlow, outside of not liking MJF, why would Wardlow involve himself in this? Unless they can try to use this as a device to turn him babyface again. But the way you'd have to do that would basically be that the rest of this group, Undisputed Kingdom, basically tricked Wardlow into being their muscle and then only used him to get the title, but didn't actually need him at all. And then they kick him out of the group, I guess. But then you're literally right back to where you were when he turned on MJF originally and trying to rebuild him as a babyface again. And I'll also say this. This is going to be the strangest comment I might ever make on this show. I've never seen somebody lose all of their personality based on losing a man bun. I've never seen it happen before. You know what I'm saying? How weird is that? Tell me if I'm wrong, chat. Like, is it just me? Like, it's like the dude lost his man bun and all of a sudden, like, it's just, you look generic. I feel like it was like all downhill from the time he lost his man bun. I know that sounds insane, but I feel like I'm not wrong about that.
Cole Roderick's in the chat. One, giving out fake news that Bill Belichick to the Panthers is confirmed. Jensen Stud Muffin confirmed. That's real news. I'll
thanks,
give
Cole.
but...
I love you, bro. We talk about you all the time, man. We actually Colin Tessier in the interview we're gonna air a little bit later says that he learned a lot about you from our show. So what's up, Cole?
Maggie is very mad at you, by the way. That you're on thin ice.
The funny thing is, there's other people in the chat saying, "Well, he never had personality to begin with." So hey, I'm giving him the credit of like, I'm just saying, man, there was something about the look, like, and then he just like started looking generic. I don't know. And
no one is Batista. No one slanging dick like Batista.
No, but that's clearly Jeff Valley Driver. That's clearly the vibes they were going for, though. I'm with you on this. It was very much Batista and Evolution type vibes for a lot of this presentation. But they fumbled this so many times. A lot of it isn't really necessarily his fault, I guess. It was the presentation. Like somewhere along the line between losing the man bun and like overdoing it with the Powerbomb Symphony, it just got like really, really stale. And I don't know. Maggie, let me know. Do you like Wardlow better right now? Like not just looks, like just overall. Do you like Wardlow better now or like 2 years ago? I'm just curious because I know you're a fan of it.
Some super chats from Tommy there. Darby could always get Samoa Joe. I'm okay with that. I mean, we've seen that feud, but like they had some really good matches. I was there when Joe won the title from Darby, the TNT title. That was a really good match. Darby's good against like any bigger guy because he's just gonna nearly kill himself bumping, and he makes all these guys look like monsters. And Samoa Joe's an easy guy to look like a monster when you're Darby Allin. And Tommy says Joe seems natural, nothing forced with him. Not at all. That's the coolest dude in the room. He walks in and he just presence immediately. And Tommy also says, I think that's why the segment ruled, because it feels like none of the former champions are trying to be champion again. AEW has fumbled what they do with former champions. No one was coming for the belt. Yeah, Hangman's like trying to think of all the former champions. Hangman's the only one outside of Jon Moxley who's like still in the company and willing to go after the belt. Kenny's on the shelf. Punk's gone. MJF's on the shelf. Jericho is there. And Moxley is, of course, still around, and he's kind of between Japan and doing New Japan stuff and whatnot right now. But Moxley could be coming out there, but Moxley just probably wants a vacation from.
Omega's out. I don't know if you mentioned Kenny, but
yeah, I said Kenny was out.
Okay, yeah. So I missed that. Gotcha. Yeah, he's out.
So everybody's kind of the only person who's around outside of Moxley is Hangman to go after the belt. And I'm all for Hangman going after the title, but again, he did beat Claudio last night, which was a good win. But the last time we saw him in the ring, he lost to I guess he beat Roderick Strong in that one match before he got taken out by the Devil's Men. But before that, it was the loss to Swerve. So Swerve should be in front of him in the line. I think that's why the crowd. Hangman got a good reaction when he faced Claudio, but when he came out for the segment against Samoa Joe, like, I think I'm crazy. The crowd was not super into Hangman being there when they were seeing that Swerve and Joe face off.
Yeah, when I'm with all that too. I mean, I totally agree that Swerve should have already, like, coming out of the Hangman match, Swerve should have already been elevated to like the thing. So the thing with Hangman is he was in this weird spot already because he already was the champion. They want to keep him like in the main event level, but they also need to elevate new people to become title challengers like Swerve. So Hangman was like the perfect person to do that for Swerve. And I like that Hangman is still in that mix, but it really should have made it clear to where like Swerve is like next in line for the title. Like Swerve shouldn't have had to do the Continental Classic or anything. It should have pretty much just been like Hangman match. Swerve is now, if he doesn't get the next title shot, he wrestles Keith Lee. That doesn't, work out because of, Keith. Like that was just
Keith Lee moments has passed.
Yeah, no. I'm saying like I'm talking about what's already happened. Like you wouldn't have even needed the Continental Classic. You could have went right from Hangman to like whatever the Keith Lee thing was, just to basically kill time because you're trying to get through MJF and Samoa Joe. Or you could have just went, or it could have been Swerve to beat MJF if they would have went with him instead of Samoa Joe. They could have maybe figured out a way to do that, I guess, but. I like Samoa Joe as the champion, though, so I like where we're at. But I guess at the end of the day, I'm with everybody else where I think Swerve shouldn't even be dealing with Hangman at this point. Like, it should just be Swerve being focused on the championship.
Jeff Fellow Driver saying, I don't think Hanger is a good guy and intended to look like a petty bitch. All right, so here's, we got to get to a bunch of other topics. But like, who's a babyface then? And this has been an argument I've had against AEW, is I don't think they're good at making baby faces. Like, okay, so now you're going to turn Hangman heel. Swerve isn't a baby face. I know he gets like cheered and stuff, but that man, his actions do not say babyface. Samoa Joe, again, he gets cheered. His actions do not say babyface. Like, you're just turning everybody heel because all your heels get cheered, even though all of their actions don't say babyface. Like, it's Darby. All right, Darby and Orange Cassidy. Those are two. Those are
good examples. Sure.
Yeah, those are good examples. Like,
but that's two people on a humongous roster of people. Yeah. No, I know what you're saying. And you're not wrong about that. It's a dangerous game to play. It's a game that I've wanted to see play out though for a long time, to be honest. So I've always been a pretty big, or I shouldn't say always. In recent years, I've been a pretty big believer of like that gray area.
Here's the thing. There's no shades of gray though.
Right.
There's
not.
They're
just heels getting cheered. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's heels getting cheered. Swerve Strickland breaking into a man's house and threatening a baby is not a shades of gray. That's a heel.
I know. I agree with that. I guess what I'm getting at is like usually what would happen is you would go heel, you get the cheers, and then it becomes the shades of gray, like the classic like kind of Steve Austin. So Cole never really changed his character. He started fighting bad guys instead of good guys. But the slippery slope with doing this is like, does that become just the norm for your company, where every time you create a great heel who's doing diabolical stuff,
but because they're cheered. A good wrestler, they get cheered.
And like that is a like, I don't know if paradox is the right word, but it's like it is a long-term problem if that happens consistently, and it is happening right now fairly consistently, because you got to make a decision at that point of either having them wrestle good guy, or sorry, having them wrestle bad guys so that they are kind of de facto baby faces, or you have to turn them baby face, but it's a dangerous game to play to just let all of your top heels go out there and get babyface reactions, because it's going to kill your baby faces.
People are saying, like, is it really an issue? You can choose who to root for. It doesn't necessarily need to be presented to you. I agree with all of this. Mm-hmm. I guess it's not necessarily an issue. It's almost a concern when it comes to growth. And that is, top baby faces mean more in a company and help a company grow a lot more when you have those guys who are defined. People want someone they can really get behind in a way of like a Cody Rhodes. You know, they want somebody like a Cody Rhodes who they can just fully get behind. Like, this is our guy, no matter what. And he's presented in that way. The crux of wrestling is good versus evil, right? That's how wrestling, that's why Hulk Hogan is one of the biggest stars ever. Yeah, there's a little, okay, he might rake an eye or something like that, but that's your good guy, and he's taking on these evil people. John Cena, good versus evil. This is professional wrestling, good versus evil. If you don't have that de facto, like, no matter what, this is your good guy, I think it hurts a little bit. It's just my personal opinion on that.
I understand what you're saying too, and I understand what people in the chat are saying. Like, some people, and I'm more in the boat of like, I just want good matches. Like, I don't really care so much. I just want like banger matches on pay-per-view and stuff. And but I do want the company to grow. And you are right about that. Like, it is incredibly valuable to have a top babyface that is just, no matter what, is the good guy. No, like, nothing can change them. They stay the good guy for the company. And that also can help grow your audience a lot, because it really opens it up, especially for like a kid audience. Now, I don't know how much AEW cares about that specifically, so that's also another conversation. But
I mean, Jeff Fellow Driver saying this is in the 80s, a dated way. I'm talking today with Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is your top baby face. He's selling a shit ton of merchandise, and WWE is very hot because of it. I know Roman Reigns has part of that to do, but Roman Reigns is a part-time dude, barely showing up. We got to give Cody a lot of credit for the way he's carried this company when it comes to this stuff. I mean, I do watch WWE. This is a growth thing as well for AEW. I like AEW.
One part has to do with AEW's audience too, because they were literally, Cody was doing the same exact thing on AEW TV and get booed out of the building. So like, choose your own adventure.
I get AEW's audience. This is their audience. That's fine. Like this is where they're at. All I'm saying is maybe I want the company to grow a little bit. I'm sorry if that's wrong of me.
I don't think it's wrong at all.
I think to grow.
I think AEW, honestly, if you were to ask Tony Khan right now, in all honesty, I think if we had Tony Khan on the show right now, we asked him point blank, would you rather not have somebody in your company that was something like John Cena, anything like John Cena as a top babyface? If he said no, I'd get kind of concerned. I know that you don't want the WWE comparisons. You want people who can go in the ring and all this, but like, I think every company would want at least one guy on their roster who is the ultimate good guy that the kids are behind, that the fans can get behind. And even if his matches aren't incredible, it's just something for like the fans to believe in as a beacon of hope. And it's like, I'm not into Star Wars at all, and I might be totally off of these references.
Tony Khan loves Star Wars.
Well, I'm just saying I don't know hardly anything about it, but like that's a very simple concept, and from what I understand, it's the Jedis or whatever, the light versus the dark side. I mean, good guys, bad guys, and that has made endless amounts of money, sold endless amounts of merchandise. It's a never-ending fan base. It's humongous, Star Wars, and it's the simplest concept ever: good versus evil. And so you need the good guy. You need a Luke Skywalker. Like you need somebody on your roster who is that guy. And AEW doesn't really have that. WWE is really good about finding those people. And listen, I lived through the John Cena years of like the John Cena sucks and all this stuff. And I was right there with y'all. I thought I was pissed off when he was beating all my favorite wrestlers like Triple H and Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania and all this stuff. And I didn't like the in-ring work for the longest time and stuff. But in hindsight, I really, really respect what he was able to accomplish as just the face of that company as a good guy for so long. So I'm with you, Jeremy. I think that it is a valuable thing to have in your company. But also at the same time, AEW's audience is definitely different than WWE's audience.
It 100% is. And look, they cater to their audience, and that's fine. Like I like AEW's product. I like what they do. I do think they have guys who could be in that position, like an Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
I think Orange Cassidy is probably the best example. And same with Darby as well. So they have guys that are like that. I wish they would maybe put them more into a world title picture. So you have a very nice good versus evil world title story. And it is what it is. We're not going to argue about it anymore.
We never really argue about it to begin with. It's just like, it's just opinions.
Joe is Darby's partner is what I meant. Oh, Joe is Darby's partner? I don't know about that. And I don't know how Joe and Darby work as a team. All right. Move on to WWE here.
I need to finish the story. In the WWE, the story never finishes.
Drew McIntyre, he cooked old CM Punk there, called him out, said maybe I'll leave for 9 years and then I'll come back and I'll just get everything handed to me. CM Punk took offense to that. CM Punk said, I never announced myself as a leader, even though there's multiple people on records walk into a room saying I was a leader. But, I led by example. And I led by example when I left the company. And now I'm going to follow your example by coming back in and working hard and getting what I deserve. And I'm going to win the Royal Rumble. And I'm going to toss you out last. And Drew said he's entering the Royal Rumble. And now we're going to get McIntyre and Punk at some point in the Royal Rumble interaction, I would imagine. I know you got a lot to say about old Punk and what Drew did to him in this promo.
Dude, honestly, I don't know how much I can say or add that, because Drew really just spoke facts again. And I think CM Punk did a pretty good job for what he could do. But, it's funny because, Maggie in the chat just said Drew McIntyre, the heel with a point. To me, that's Drew McIntyre, biggest babyface in the company right now, is what I was seeing out there against CM Punk. I loved how he turned the tables on Punk. Punk did that, that thing where he when he sat up on the top ropes, with his like the old Shawn Michaels. I always call it the old Shawn Michaels thing where you lay on the top rope. He did that, but then McIntyre did it back to him. And yeah, man, the thing about there's a lot of stuff that's unlikable about CM Punk. Y'all know how I feel, but something that does no one else like. He's the guy who just always got to have the last word. Is that not annoying it to anyone else? I don't know. Like, it's like he can go out there and just get cooked, and he'll always have to, no matter what, it's always like, yeah, whatever. It's like, yeah, what are you gonna do? Oh, do something about it. And it's like he always has like he's always got to have the last word. And I think everything McIntyre said was accurate and true. And when you see those guys face to face, it looks so funny because McIntyre is just huge. And CM Punk's not like a small guy.
Did you see McIntyre's tweet of like, say it to my chest?
I didn't see that, but I did not see that, but that's all I was thinking when I was seeing
I realized McIntyre was huge. You look at him next to Roman Reigns. Like, Roman Reigns is a big dude, and McIntyre like almost dwarfs Roman Reigns.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just funny because it's like I'm not ignorant either, right? I'm not stupid to like what's going on the screen. So like I know that like Drew McIntyre isn't going to actually like fight CM Punk in the middle of the ring. I know that isn't going to happen, but it's just funny how Punk can say stuff on a microphone in front of millions of people to Drew McIntyre's face, like, you know, if you want to do something, you know, do something about it, you know? And it's like, it's just so unbelievable to me because I know the truth, but most of the fan base doesn't, and this is still cool to them. So it's like I just gotta always put myself in like the shoes of the fan base that either is not aware or doesn't care. So it's like, I don't know. I just thought it was. I watched that. I thought it was another 10-8 round. This was 10-8 McIntyre. I don't know if you can agree with the scoring, but once again, it's just like, to me, everything Drew McIntyre said, like none of that was heel. That was all just the truth. And what's funny is like when you tell the truth to CM Punk, somehow you become the heel because whatever CM Punk's against is like, and his fan base is so dedicated that like no matter what he says or does, it could be the most lame, boring, generic thing ever. It could be complete lies. You mean tell me when I'm telling lies, and the whole thing's about lies, and they'll believe every word. I mean, what I do like about what CM Punk said though is he made multiple devil references, which I think is also clearly. You're not sitting there like digging at AEW because I don't think he wants to continue to be involved in these fights between AEW and WWE fans and stuff, but he's going to do his little wink, I'm CM Punk still things.
That's what makes him him.
It's what makes him him. True. And it's also why I don't like a lot of his fan base because I think that they're like him, and that kind of stuff's annoying to me. But I like that he meant him mentioning the devil multiple times. It was not a coincidence. You know what I mean? So I just, you know, I don't know. How did you feel about it? Like, do you feel like McIntyre like clearly won that exchange, or am I just super biased? Okay.
No, I think McIntyre won. I think we've had this discussion before. I'm a little bit tougher on giving a 10-8 round unless I feel it's truly deserved. But I thought McIntyre won that, and you know, McIntyre is definitely that shades of gray of like, he's a heel. All of his action says heel, but he speaks a lot of truth. And so he, you know, to the fan base, like, I guess the AEW fan base, there you go, everybody. He would be a baby face. He would get a lot of cheers because they like Drew McIntyre and they like what he's saying when it comes to this stuff. I think Punk is trying to be a baby face. He's, you know, he's just going to get cheered based on his return and everything. But I think Drew got him on this. I absolutely loved when McIntyre's like, you come in, you announce yourself as the leader, and Punk's like, never did that. It's like, dude, there are multiple people who said this.
There are so many stories.
I've heard these stories.
Yeah.
Maybe everyone hasn't, but I do know of this.
And when people describe it, it isn't just like CM Punk mentioned he was the locker room leader. It's stories about like CM Punk tried calling meetings and people just wouldn't show up and would laugh in his face because nobody viewed him as the locker room leader. Like it's I don't know. But once again, it's so easy to like his fan base is so dedicated that they're going to be blinded that it doesn't matter. He can say and do whatever he wants. They're going to believe it. And that's a powerful, so that's powerful like that. And listen, I respect that. And for no other reason, I respect CM Punk for that. Like that's got to be quite the feeling to like be able to say and do whatever you want and burn all these bridges and stuff, but still come off like the good guy over and over again. It's wild. So
Tommy says Drew and Punk ruled. Love that. Drew was the face. And Tommy also says authentic Drew is #1 face material. Don't know why Drew isn't World Heavyweight Champion yet. Hopefully after Mania. I feel like he's been fumbled hard since 2020. I don't know if he's been fumbled because he's always been like in like a big picture spot, whether it's even like Intercontinental title against Gunther, world title. Like he's always been a big part of the show. Do I think he should have won the title at that WrestleMania with half fans against Lashley? Yes, I do think he should have won the title there. I thought he was going to win the title last week at day one. I thought he might have a short reign with it. He loses it back to Rollins at Royal Rumble. That obviously didn't happen. I don't know what the contract situation is with Drew. You know, according to reports, it's supposed to be up pretty soon during the first half of the year. And then, you know, according to reports, he hasn't resigned yet. So we will see if he eventually does resign. But Drew's going to be in a big spot for the time being. So we'll see.
Good. And he should have a big spot. Drew McIntyre's, I'm a big fan, and not just because of this promo. Like I respected he was one of the first guys that was a good example of kind of what became kind of the Cody blueprint of like Cody quit the WWE. That was a little bit different, but you know, Drew got let go, but
Drew has even said that like people, when they release people, they'll like go pull a Drew McIntyre of like, you get released, go out, work really hard, put on 50 pounds of muscle, right, and then return.
Yeah, that transformation was gnarly, but he's kept the muscle on. So there's something to be said about that. But no, that's because like my point with him being let go is also like he could have easily at that point been like, man, this isn't for me. Like I was the chosen one. I started basically on. I mean, I know he had the run in the UK prior, but like on the Indies, but like the Indies were also a lot different back then. And I think it's just really cool that he went out and he reinvented himself, and he got a lot better at his craft. And of course, you know, he did put on a lot of muscle similar to Jinder Mahal, which we don't really have to get into him today too much. We talked a little bit about that kind of at the beginning of the show, but Jinder Mahal did the same thing. He left and he got huge, and he came back and became the champion. So that aside, the getting huge part aside, I think there's a lot to be said about the hard work outside of the WWE and the company noticing that you really, really care, and like you getting an even better chance when you come back. Because McIntyre, when he left, he was in a real rut, and the 3-man band stuff was really going nowhere and all this stuff. And then they were more of like a comedy thing at that point. And then, you know, by the time he comes back, he's totally reinvented. He gets a run in NXT that goes really well. Like, I think he's done really well for himself on the main roster, and he's very believable. Like he's a huge dude. He's athletic. He's good in the ring. He's good on the microphone. He's from him being like Scottish, right? That technically,
yeah.
That he like it's a different like, you know, I like you got like a different accent. You got like you're pulling an audience from a different part of the world. Like it's cool and it's valuable to have people that are like just different, you know. And I think that Drew McIntyre is super talented and different. That's like a win-win-win across the board. And he's great in the ring. So I think that everyone's right in here that's saying like, you know, Drew McIntyre deserved more. Listen, I've said this before too. During the pandemic, Drew McIntyre deserves more credit than probably anybody in the wrestling business. That dude went out there as the champion of this company in front of no fans, without the adrenaline of having the fans there, and put on some of the hardest hitting, best matches he could have done in the WWE system while he was the champion. And that probably hurt really bad without having the people out there being able to cheer and all this. And for no other reason, he does deserve another run with that title, being their top guy at some point, because he never really got it in front of fans. And that is unfair, because he put in serious work for that company during the pandemic. So, and he still continues to put on the high level work to this day. So,
Tommy saying Drew in that exchange with Punk was better faced than Seth has been. His exchanges with Punk, Drew should be built around. I think Drew is a top guy in any company he is part of. I don't know what the future holds for Drew McIntyre past Rumble Mania. You know, we shall see in that case. My WWE spotlight. Roman Reigns has 3 challengers. Randy Orton, AJ Styles, LA Knight. Yeah. 4-way match.
I'm a fan now, baby. No longer. Well, actually, he is still a threat. Never mind. Sorry, go ahead.
I mean, he's kind of a threat. He's
Still is. He's
technically got a
match.
world title
He's
shot before Cody does. He could theoretically win at the Royal Rumble. There are some people incorrectly theorizing.
I know where you're going with this.
That this is how Roman loses the title.
Loses to Orton.
Yeah, Orton pins AJ Styles or something like that. Like, there are some people who think this might happen. I think all of you are wrong. I think this is Roman stacking 3 dudes and getting them the hell out of his way on his way to the Rocket Mania.
On his way to the Rocket Mania.
Yeah, he's facing the Rocket Mania, brother.
Yeah. Cody. So the theories that you're laying out is essentially this, and I'll lay it out for other people that might not be caught up, because I have seen some traction to this idea, which if we weren't 1,000+ days into Roman Reigns' title run, this scenario actually makes a ton of sense. But because we're at where we're at, I don't see it happening, but like it could. And if it does happen, I'm going to be super indifferent in a lot of ways. So the theory is that Randy Orton would pin LA Knight or AJ Styles to win the championship at the Royal Rumble. So now the title's off Roman. Orton would be the champion going into WrestleMania, and it would be Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton for the WWE Championship, and that's how Cody would finish the story because of the history between Cody and Orton, with Evolution, with them being his mentor, with Cody bringing Orton back to WWE for the War Games match and everything. And it would be Cody beating Randy Orton at WrestleMania for that title, and then you'd have the Rock and Roman non-title at WrestleMania also. That's the
Are you satisfied as a Cody fan with this?
I'm like 50% satisfied with it. I'm like half staffed at the idea of that. But see, the full is like, because, and this is the reason that's so important that I mentioned the whole 1,000 days plus thing, because it would be such a massive fumble by this company if they wasted Roman Reigns losing this title on somebody else taking the pin and getting that title off of him. Like, somebody, even if it isn't Cody, obviously y'all know, I think it should be, but even if it isn't Cody, even if it's LA Knight, in complete honesty, somebody needs to be the one to pin Roman Reigns one-on-one definitively and get that rub. So I gotta stand strong and say that, you know, Roman's going to retain at the Royal Rumble. I hadn't considered him stacking all 3 of these guys, but I think that's possible. He stacked 2 of them. Was it at WrestleMania when he stacked Bryan and Edge?
Bryan and Edge. Yeah.
So, I could actually see that maybe. But here's the thing. What WWE is going to do a great job of during that match is they're going to make me believe multiple times that it's over. Like, I'm going to get to the point. I could even go into this match thinking like there's no way Roman Reigns is losing, which is pretty much where I'm at, because I don't think they'll have him lose heading into WrestleMania. Like, I think he'll be defending the title at WrestleMania. But if WWE can get, and I think that they will, because they're really good at this, there will be multiple times in this match where I'm like, oh my God, LA Knight's about to win the title. Oh my God, AJ Styles is about to win the title. Oh my God, Randy Orton's about to do it. Like, I think they're going to actually get me to that spot a few times where I really believe someone else might have a chance. And that's all I can really ask for, honestly. And I'm cheering for Roman Reigns at this point. Like, I want Roman Reigns. I shouldn't say at this point. I've been cheering for Roman Reigns to retain every match since last WrestleMania. Like, after Cody lost, I'm just trying to get back to Cody and Roman so Cody can have this moment. But, anyway, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with it. I think that Roman retains, but I have seen the theories and I understand the concept behind the theory of Orton winning and then Orton and Cody at Mania.
I think Roman's winning. You can't take the title off of Roman in this way. It's got to be a one-on-one match. It's got to be as clean as you can be in this type of match. Given Roman's reign at this point.
Agree.
It can't be no 4-way, 3-way nonsense. Somebody else getting pinned nonsense. That can't be the way this reign ends. I think Roman's winning. I think he's facing the Rocket Mania. And then where they go from there with Cody, I don't know. I care about Cody. Who cares?
Cody got his chance at WrestleMania 41, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe Punk will be in the picture for WrestleMania 41. Cody might have to wait till 42. Maybe MJF comes to WWE. He faces Roman Reigns at 41.
Dude, Cody's gonna get boxed out completely, isn't he? The story's never getting finished.
He's got to work on his rebounding skills. He needs to learn a swim move to get out of the box. Good luck to Cody. Good luck to Cody.
We'll talk about Cody next week, I'm sure.
Our product is what it is. We're going straight up the middle.
It's a big weekend in the world of professional wrestling. We have TNA Hard to Kill. The TNA rebrand is officially back, baby. It is TNA Wrestling once again. That starts this weekend. I know it's basically back at this point, but it officially starts on January 13th. And we have New Japan Battle in the Valley, headlined by Will Ospreay against Kazuchika Okada. We got Jon Moxley and Shingo Takagi on that show. Eddie Kingston and Gabe Kidd on that show as well. It's a big show between these two things. What sticks out to you, Jensen, between those two shows?
So for TNA Hard to Kill, I'll be doing the post show on Saturday night. It'll be myself, Cresta Star, and Joel Pearl. And Joel, we're getting the logistics figured out because Joel will be at the show as well. But just a heads up for everybody who wants to tune in. I love doing the excuse me. I love doing the Impact and now TNA again post shows for the pay-per-views. So join us for that on Saturday night. And more so than anything, that honestly, like any of the actual matches, I'm most just kind of excited for just the rebrand of TNA in general. Just like the buzz that I hope this generates, the energy that I think that I've seen from the people on the TNA roster. People seem to be really positive. Like when they've been handing out the new championships with the TNA branding on them, and the people getting the belt seem like genuinely excited. Like, you know, a lot of the people that are currently on the roster either wrestled for the original TNA or were like fans of the original TNA. Like they didn't really want to be Impact, but like TNA is cool. Like, and it's synonymous with AJ Styles and all this stuff. And that's, speaking of AJ, I think it would be really cool because one thing that I don't know is like what kind of surprises we'll get on the show. I'm sure that people will show up, and I'm not going to sit here and like get my hopes up that AJ is going to show up on TNA Hard to Kill, but I just want to put out there that like I think that because wrestlers for WWE have sent in like videos like while under contract for big shows and stuff for TNA or Impact in the past. I think that there's a chance maybe in the future, so like maybe not necessarily that AJ will like wrestle, but like maybe some of these old TNA wrestlers that are in other companies, maybe they're allowed to make an appearance just to like say hi, like you're just say what's up to the fan base, like just acknowledge like the TNA is back, like just because I don't think TNA is like a threat to the WWE. If anything, I think it's going to become more of like a partnership at some point. It's just a feeling I've got. Like, and anyway, but I will say, as far as like the thing I'm looking forward to the most, honestly, there's a few like really good matches on here, on Hard to Kill. The one that I'm indifferent on that we talked about before. I think Jordan Grace is going to win the Knockouts title from Trinity because it's pretty clear. It sounds like Trinity is going to go back to the WWE. Jordan, though, should have been using this Call Your Shot championship gauntlet thing to call out. It should be Jordan Grace versus Alex Shelley, in my opinion, on this show for the TNA championship, especially because Jordan Grace pinned Bully Ray to win the gauntlet. Like, but I also understand like if Trinity's on the way out, Jordan Grace is the best woman, I think, to be the champion.
Yeah, I mean, Moose
won the Feast or Fired.
Yeah, Feast or Fired. Yeah,
they've got multiple things that basically mean the same thing going on right now in the company, which they need to figure out too, I guess. But you're not wrong though. I mean, I get that, but I think that Chris Sabin versus Vikingo versus Kushida will probably be like the best match on the show, just like straight up wrestling match. But I'm really looking forward to the tag team title match with Bay and Austin versus the Rascals versus Speedball and Trent Seven versus Grizzled Young Vets. Like that's going to be really good. And I mean, Alex Shelley, I love as the TNA champion. I hope he holds onto the belt and retains over Moose. But so yeah, just kind of some kind of surface level thoughts on that. I did give full predictions on the Weekender for the show, but I'm hoping that this TNA rebrand just is a real shot in the arm, because I think there's been a lot of positive feedback so far from the people on the roster and the fan base. People seem to be really excited about this, and Impact already gets a lot of buzz for their like 4 pay-per-views a year. The wrestling world pays attention, and I think that'll be even more so now because of people being interested in seeing what the TNA rebrand really looks like on pay-per-view. So I'm personally, I know I'm a little biased because I'm reviewing the show and I'm excited, but like I am excited as a fan of the original TNA, of the original Asylum days in Nashville and stuff like this. This is cool that they're trying to do this. Did I lose you, Jeremy?
Oh yeah, I think it froze for a second. No, I'm with you. Everybody is very excited for the TNA branding, and it's gotten nothing but positive feedback. We've had some TNA people on in the weeds, and they're all very excited for it. And you know, the bad reputation, the stink on the name, it's been enough time now. That was many regimes ago to where it seems to be gone. You know, they'll bring it back like Okada for the tapings. Ospreay is going to be at the tapings. The partnership with New Japan seems to be on good terms, so it's a good thing. I'm looking forward to the show. Not having really any television build for the show is a choice, because they just ran a bunch of specials in these past few weeks. So that has made me a little less excited. It's a big reset show almost, because again, they've had no television to build this up. Any build was months ago. It's just like, okay, Moose gets a title shot. Jordan Grace gets a title shot. Here's Kushida and Vikingo. They're just getting a title shot. Knockouts, Ultimate X, cool. Josh Alexander, Alex Hammerstone, I'm really looking forward to. I think that'll be good. I think Hammerstone might have a future in TNA if he decides that's where he wants to go. There's good matches on the show. It's just there hasn't been any build because they haven't done any television. But it should be a really good show. And then New Japan Battle in the Valley. I mean, look, we're getting Ospreay and Okada maybe for the last time in a long while. Ospreay finishes with New Japan in February. I think February 11th is his last New Japan show. It's a cage match, which should be interesting. But yeah, that's his last New Japan show. We don't know what Okada is going to do. There hasn't been much. You know, his contract reportedly expired with New Japan this month, but there hasn't been real any update on Okada and where he may or may not go. So that makes me believe he's probably sticking around with New Japan, because I feel like if it was a WWE thing or if it was an AEW thing, leave thumbs up. Or if it was an AEW thing, we'd hear a little bit more on that, kind of like we did with Ospreay. It was a little bit more vocal, the reporting. The fact that we haven't heard anything about Okada makes me believe he's probably just sticking with New Japan. I think Tanahashi being the president,
that's a big
also. Yeah. Was a big part of that as well. So yeah, the fact that this could be the last Ospreay and Okada match for a little while is a big deal. It's happening in America. Moxley and Shingo, that's going to be awesome. Eddie Kingston, Gabe Kidd, I think that's going to be a great match as well. So it'll be a good New Japan Battle in the Valley show. Anything you like from that show, Jensen?
Yeah, everything you mentioned. I mean, that's cool. They're doing a cage match with Okada and Ospreay. That's something different.
No. The cage match is Ospreay. That's his last New Japan match. It's February 11th in Japan. It's okay. United Empire against Bullet Club War Dogs.
Ooh, okay, gotcha. I got confused there when you mentioned that cage match because I hadn't heard anything about that being a cage match. Okay, gotcha. Well, that's cool that they're, I mean, I'm always gonna be down for Ospreay and Okada. Those two guys rule. Takagi and Moxley, that'll be badass. I think that you're totally right about. I mean, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, but the Tanahashi being the president of New Japan is going to be key for a lot of future signings. I think that was a big part because we even said it the other week. I was like, I have no idea, honestly, one way or another, what Tanahashi's like business background is or anything like that. But I think at the very least, him being in that position, it's going to help people who are on the fence about whether or not they want to stay with New Japan. If you got a good relationship with Tanahashi, like you're going to want to stay with your guy, and he's going to probably do right by you if you stay. So I think that's massive. And I think it's the truth too, because we've seen a lot of like big exits from New Japan over the last couple of years. And maybe some of those people don't leave if Tanahashi is in charge, who knows? So yeah, no, that's kind of all I can really add to that at the moment, but should be some really good matches.
Yeah, it's gonna be a late show. I don't think it starts till like 10 o'clock Eastern. That's unfortunate.
Tough.
It's gonna be a long night. There's Battle of the Belts AEW that night as well. There's obviously Collision. There's an NWA show that people probably don't know about.
I completely forgot about that.
That's EC3. That's EC3 Cardona in a death match.
Oh, but they're rephrasing it like a match of death or something. They're calling it like something a little bit different because EC3 technically chose the match or whatever. Yeah, no, I know. I forgot that was coming up. They just had their like 4-part like Return to Robarts stuff they just did. It's so confusing. Anyway, yeah, no, that's cool. We can move on. I got some stuff to talk about before we get out of here.
All right, let's hit up the indie spotlight.
I'm gonna give a big motherfucking shout out.
Indie spotlight, Jensen. I know you wanted to spotlight Jay and Silent Bob getting major bendies from the Matt Cardona brand.
I did. I know this sounds like a random topic to spotlight, but as y'all know, I'm a big action figure and memorabilia and autograph collector. You can't really see it right here because I'm in my living room right now, but I'm still in the process of redoing my office because I've got so much stuff to move around. And the collection never stops growing. But I am a big fan of Cardona and Myers and Smart Mark and all those guys that are involved over there at the Major Wrestling Figure Podcast and their action figure line. And I'm a big fan of the WWF Bendies from back in the day. I have the majority of the original set. They made a ton of them, but I used to buy them back in the day at like Big Lots and stuff like that because they were like pretty inexpensive wrestling figures that I could kind of afford back when I was in like middle school and high school and that kind of stuff. And some of them have like some real value now, especially the ones from like the later series. And anyway, I was always a big fan of those WWF Bendies, and I still collect them to this day. Like if there's one that I know I don't have, most of the ones I don't have now are like super rare and valuable. Like they're too expensive. Like the Taz and the Too Cool and stuff, they're like hundreds and hundreds of dollars, like $800. I think was the last time I saw like a Taz go or something. But the Cardona and those guys with the Major Wrestling Pod, they brought back the Bendham line, like their own version of it called the Major Bendies. And they've been licensing like, themselves, of course, but other wrestlers have been a part of this line, like Danhausen and stuff. And some of the other people that are like peripheral or part of like their YouTube channel and stuff have gotten their own Bendies. And I had heard them mentioning recently how to basically stay tuned because they were going to be branching out to maybe more than just wrestling. And I was interested to know what they meant by that. And then the other day on social media, I saw announcements from the Major Bros and also from Kevin Smith himself talking about and showing that they're doing Jay and Silent Bob Major Bendies, which is awesome. They're going to be Clerks versions, which is, for those of you who don't know, some of my favorite movies in the world are Clerks, Mallrats, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. That whole Viewist universe I was a really big fan of. I've seen them all, Dogma, Chasing Amy, all of them, right? But the ones that I really, really loved and the ones that I still watch often to this day are Clerks and Mallrats. I still watch those two movies like pretty often. And so I think it's really, really cool that Major Bendies is making Clerks Bendims. And on top of that, a big reason why I wanted to make this my spotlight is because I think people should just be paying attention to what the Major Bros are doing with their action figure lines in general. Because even if you're not just a fan of pro wrestling, they're starting to branch out into other like fandoms, and they're real fans themselves of this stuff. So like I promise you, I'm not like endorsed or sponsored by them to like promote their products, but I'm just saying, like, as somebody who purchases their products and stuff like that, like they're high quality, they're made by real fans, like they're real. Like Cardona, he's like the top like collector out there. Like he's one of us. So he wants to put out cool products that are good quality that other fans actually want to buy and like get signed at autograph signings and stuff like that. So I just want to give them a big shout out today. Like I thought it was really cool. I had no idea that they were working on something with Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes for Clerks figures for Jay and Silent Bob. And I hope that we get Mallrats figures. I hope we get figures for other movies and stuff like that I don't really get stuff for. Like, I just think that's really cool that they're thinking outside of the box and thinking like fans. And so yeah, go support what they're doing. It isn't just the major bendies. They got the big rubber guys, which are like the throwback LJN figures. They've got a whole bunch of stuff. They're marketing machines, and it's also the main reason why whenever people start getting behind the hype train of like Cardona back to WWE, Cardona back to WWE, I'm always thinking like maybe in some capacity I could see it maybe, but he has so much good stuff going on outside the WWE where like it probably gets murky where like he has his own action figure line. Like that's going to compete with Mattel, which you know what I mean? Like so there's conflict of interest in some of this stuff. So just so y'all kind of know, Cardona and Myers and Smart Mark and the people over there at the major pod, they're making some really, really huge moves. And these are expensive moves. It is incredibly expensive to get in the action figure manufacturing game. So they're doing it the right way, it seems. So just want to give them some credit today because I really like what they're doing. And I can't wait for these Jay and Silent Bob figures. I'm definitely going to pre-order them.
I'm not the figure collector that you are. I do like Jay and Silent Bob, but I'm not the figure collector you are. The point you mentioned about Cardona, yeah, I think if he's going to go back to WWE, they're going to have to do a lot of concessions of what he can continue to do because the figure stuff is obviously very important to him. And I don't think he's just going to give that up to just be in WWE again. So I think that would be the biggest thing when it comes to Cardona. Like if he can continue to do that, he'd probably be like, yeah, sure. I'll come back. Like if that's what you guys want. And if he can be Cardona, probably not be Zack Ryder. Again, kind of like Cody gets his whole persona in his WWE. But I think that'd be the biggest thing because why would you give that up when that's probably paying you more than WWE might pay you?
I mean, overall, at least Cardona is saying himself that overall he's making more money right now than he was when he worked for the WWE.
Yeah.
And that's not all just action figure money. You know, that's a combination of all of his revenue streams and his actual wrestling and merchandise and stuff. But like, I mean, there's plenty of, and this, I don't want to like, you know, speak for other people, but there's other wrestlers too. It's a whole other conversation and a rabbit hole we don't have to go down. But like, I mean, there's wrestlers like Effie, for instance, that like are really, really great at marketing themselves. They have like the Twitch revenue, the merchandise revenue. They get paid well for their bookings. They do great with their signings and their merchandise. I think Effie has even been like a cartoon character and like a Netflix show and stuff like that. Like there's and I'd imagine if he went to the WWE, he'd be like, you know, learning 3/4 rolls and setting up the ring for a while in Orlando. And you know what I mean? Like it wouldn't, so it's like, you know, there's obviously a seesaw and like a trade-off to this. Like you could become a multimillionaire, huge superstar eventually, maybe in that system, but you also might have something great going on for you right now where like, why do that? Like you're your own boss and you love the life you're living. So why change that, you know? So this is something, this is more food for thought for people. Like sometimes when like your favorite wrestlers aren't getting signed and you're getting upset at companies or whatever over it, sometimes like the wrestler themselves is just totally happy with their current situation and doesn't want to sign anywhere. I just want to throw that out there too.
Yeah. And we'll see if, you know, maybe Cardona just comes back and does a Rumble spot and then
it'd be cool.
He just comes back to radio hits, crowd pops. Then he continues the indie run. That's always very possible. My indie spotlight is Mustafa Ali, his big world tour campaign. He's going to be at GCW this weekend. He's wrestling Gringo Loco, Chicago, Friday night. He wrestled in France. He's already had a bunch of big matches announced, including matches against like Vikingo, Speedball Mike Bailey. He's coming to Defy. He's working basically everywhere at this point. I think that Ali is also going to, based on like the vignettes and some of the promos he's done and the tweets and stuff, I think he's going to kind of introduce an element of storytelling to the indies that isn't always there, where it's like, you know, a lot of times indies is just cool match. I think Ali is going to give you the cool matches, but with a more of a story element to it. And I'm really looking forward what he's going to do. Again, he's already wrestled one match. I believe it was APC. I feel bad that I forgot the name of it. But in France, he wrestled. That match is available on YouTube, by the way. Everyone can check it out. Yeah, it was APC. That was his first match back, and he cut a promo afterwards. It was against Blanc. It's a French name. I probably screwed that up. I apologize. But he did that match. Now he's back in the US and he's working a bunch of US matches. I'm looking forward to what Ali is gonna do coming up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, especially the GCW match with Gringo Loco, that's in Chicago. So, I mean, I'm sure y'all know Mustafa Ali from Chicago, huge for that scene, helped train a lot of like today's wrestlers or trained along with them from that area. And Gringo Loco is from that area as well. He's a Chicago guy. So this is like a big matchup for that area in GCW, which in my opinion is the biggest independent promotion in the world. So, I like that a lot. And the storytelling element that you're talking about, I think is pretty cool too. Cause I mean, obviously in like GCW, you can do that if you're consistently appearing, but I think what you're talking about and what I think he's going to do is more across all companies and across social media, like the character and some of maybe the feuds and friendships and stuff he has, maybe he'll do a better job of like kind of intertwining all of that throughout his indie run. Like, he'll maybe be able to do a better job of, especially because he has such a big social media following, like, compared to most independent wrestlers, a lot of people follow his social media and are huge fans of his. And he has the fan base of people that feel like he was underutilized in the WWE that have been behind him rallying and are like really ready for him to get a real chance. And they're going to support him big time. So I think that because of all those reasons, he'll be able to really hype up certain matches, certain feuds, and maybe carry stories and his character along to different companies and stuff like that. So, I mean, I'm happy for him. I mean, he's a great in-ring wrestler. He's fantastic in the ring. And I think he's a very likable guy. He cuts good promos. The stuff that he used to film with Craig Mitchell, was Craig Mitchell behind the camera. A lot of people don't know that, but a lot of those like vigilante promos he used to do where he'd like go around the streets of Chicago, like kind of like policing the streets and helping people out. Like a lot of those were filmed by Craig Mitchell initially. And like those guys, like I think like the vision of that was really cool. The presentation, I think it really helped Ali get a push in the WWE. So I think between the cool storytelling you can do, the cool videos, I think that they're going to shoot, and all that, I think you're totally right. I think that it's gonna be a really successful indie run, really successful run outside the WWE in general for Ali. And he's of course going to have options in other major companies. Like he's going to have plenty of options. So I'm looking forward to see what he does. And in the meantime, at the very least, I know he's got some banger matches. Like him and Gringo Loco is going to be incredible. So I mean, I'm all for it.
Jensen, I know you got to run. I want to just hit these super chats. Tommy says, shout out special on Fightful. Appreciate you, Tommy.
Thanks, Tommy.
Appreciate you. And then Tommy also says, apparently Joe is down to help defend tag belts. Okay. That's what you meant by Darby and Joe teaming. And then where does Tama Tonga land? Yeah, it seems like he's finishing up with New Japan. It feels like it's WWE. Like they've had an interest in him. It seems like it makes the most sense, honestly. But we shall see. Jensen, you got to go. Let everybody know where they can find you at.
Yes, and by the way, I agree. I think Tama Tonga will wind up in the WWE as well. You can find me on X at FightTalk _ FIGHTTALK _ Use code FightTalk and IndependentWrestling.tv and listen to the Fightful Select Weekender podcast. That's usually on Sundays, sometimes on Mondays. This week it'll probably be on Monday because I'm off work on Monday for MLK. So I'll probably I'll be up late doing the review for Impact. Oh, sorry. Tune into that too. Impact or TNA, Hard to Kill review, post-show review on the main YouTube Fightful channel. Myself, Cresta Star, and Joel Pearl. I'll be up late watching wrestling and doing the review for that. I'll probably take Sunday off to just chill and watch football. And then I will probably record the Weekender on Monday afternoon. So subscribe to FightfulSelect.com when you want to listen to the Weekender podcast, talk about the world of independent professional wrestling. And I hope you enjoyed this interview with myself, Jeremy, and Colin Tessier. It was really, really fun. And I'm going to go clock in for the shoot job. Hopefully by next Thursday, I have some good news to tell you all about this promotion. And if not, we'll start the campaign to do something about it.
We're gonna storm. We're storming the offices, baby. All right, Jensen, yes. Enjoy your day. Thank you as always, guys. Let's get into it. Our creator spotlight contest here from Fightful and WrestleZone. Here we go.
Welcome to the creator spotlight here on Fightful. I am Stephen Jensen, joined as always by Jeremy Lambert, and our guest today is a senior editor at WrestleZone.com and a writer here at Fightful. He is Colin Tessier. Colin, thanks for joining us, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you guys for having me. I was so tell both of you guys, big fan of the show. I listen every week, so it's really cool to be on.
Oh, sorry to hear that. That's unfortunate that you spend your time listening to us. You have better things to do on Thursday. I know technically, like you have Thursday off. Like you gotta do better things with your life on Thursday. To listen
I was just gonna say, like, that's a testament. But Thursday is one of my few days off, and I choose to spend part of that time listening to you guys. So it goes to show you that you got a good thing going.
Again, that just means you got to do something better with your Thursdays, man.
Fair enough.
I disagree. I think your spending your Thursday is great. What's your favorite thing about our show, Colin?
Just put us over.
I always like it's very balanced. So you got the WWE, the AEW spotlight, other, which is fair, right? It's not going to always talk about TNA or New Japan. Like it varies like that, and then independency. And like for me, because I'm always covering the WWE, etc. I don't always get to like watch as much independent stuff. So having you guys talk about that keeps me kind of at least somewhat in the loop. Whereas otherwise, I'd be going off of gifs on Twitter and anything else that happens to get a little traction and you know maybe the odd GCW show that I do actually watch here and there. So it's a nice range. And then I like how you guys do have different opinions a lot of the time, and you align with some things, but it's always good. I like it.
We appreciate that. I think honestly the most rewarding aspect of our show, outside of maybe like the interview portion, because it's really cool being able to like spotlight people like yourself, like other people in like the media space or independent wrestlers, promoters. Like I really get a lot of enjoyment out of like the interview portion. But outside of that, like the main thing that I at least hear, and I think Jeremy does too, like when we go to like independent shows or conventions or whatever, a lot of it is about like that we're just covering independent wrestling at all, like that we're just giving any kind of platform to it. So I appreciate you saying that, man. I'm glad that you like the balance that we have on the show, and you are a longtime viewer. I mean, you may have been watching like our first show, because I remember you talking to me about that around the time we started it. So I'm very happy that you're able to come on. You have so much going on for us to talk about, for you to be on the show. This is great.
No, I appreciate it. Like you were saying, like not even just talking about the wrestling, but like I remember one of your first interviews with like Cole Radrick. Like I would not get to hear like an independent wrestler talk about life like at all, and then you guys feature these guys and just the talent in general literally every week, whether it's independent wrestling or if it's creator spot, like whatever it might be. It's just cool to be able to see what people are doing in various ways. So I really like that.
All right, well, you don't have to put us over anymore. Colin, let's jump right into it. How did you get started into this wrestling media space of nonsense that we were all in?
So it's funny to look back now. I started as a journalism major in college and hated it. So I switched to writing, just general writing. And then I started writing for the newspaper. And I loved wrestling when I was a kid, and then stopped watching for several years. I think I gave up around like 2015-ish, something like that, and just totally walked away. And then I randomly, one night I was home from like winter break in college, and I turned on TV and it was Raw. This is the very, very end of 2018, which was not a good time to check out WWE Raw. But something did it. I was like, oh, we're back. So I started watching it again, and I started watching every WWE show at that point. Because there was WWE, I guess, an Impact at that point. And then very shortly after that, like I think February of 2019, WrestleZone was hiring. And me being a writing major, not knowing what I was doing with my life, I was like, hey, that would be cool, because I actually read WrestleZone when I was a kid. So I was like, that's kind of a cool like full circle thing. So I started very, very minimum. I think I had a shift on like Sunday and Monday night. I was covering Raw, partially covering Raw. And then just climbed up from there, and that's kind of what started.
Nice. So journalism major, but you worked like that's actually I can relate to that. I worked like my school newspaper in college, school radio. That's actually how I kind of got started doing this as well. Like this is back in like 2006 through 2010, so it's been a while. I think a lot of things have changed. I'm curious, like, is there any, because back when I was in school, we didn't really have, I literally used to get laughed at even for mentioning that I wanted to cover something like mixed martial arts, like no joke. Like you'd go around the room in like my sports management classes, and you'd be like, everyone's saying like, I want to cover, MLB, NHL, NFL, and they're saying all this stuff. And I'm like, I want to cover the UFC, and like, I love, WWE at the, and like people would literally laugh at me because it was like, what are you talking about? You can't. Now there's actually like kind of a lane for that. Like in college, are there other people that you would come across that were interested in covering like combat sports?
It's funny because like I was in journalism and I wanted to cover football, I thought, and then they wouldn't let you do that until you were a senior. So I was a freshman, so I was covering women's volleyball and basketball, and then no knock against that, but that's not what I wanted to do. So then that's kind of one of the reasons why I switched, and I started writing. I was actually doing more of like film review, entertainment, and that roughly segued into wrestling somehow. But I don't talk to people, so I don't know if anyone else like wanted to do that. Like I don't know if that was a thing. But like you mentioned, even when I started, that was called 2016, and even back then there wasn't really as much of a viable kind of avenue to do that. It really was kind of like your big sports and maybe some of your other like oddball ones. And then I think it's been the last couple of years where you've really seen more of a media kind of more of a viable kind of chance to do that, whether it's writing or like if it's a magazine or whatever it might be. Like that's more of a recent thing, at least I think.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jeremy. I'll follow up.
Oh, I was just gonna say. So with WrestleZone, what were you starting off doing there? You mentioned some news and then Raw, and then working your way up at WrestleZone.
Yeah. So I was in college, so I didn't at first have much of a. I have a lot of room to like add a lot of responsibility right off the bat, and it made sense. They started me off kind of your just baseline, like it was news coverage on Sunday nights, and that included like event coverage as well. So like back then, pay-per-views were on Sundays. That meant I covered pay-per-views, and then it was Monday nights for Raw and news otherwise. And I think I just like slowly add to that as I went along. And I've done various things. I've hosted podcasts there, interviewed people. I do like kind of do the social media, at least when I'm working. Like I live tweet shows, do things like that. And then now for the past couple of years, I've been an editor, so then I work with people, and I kind of like oversee things. Yeah, but because I was in college at first, I was just doing the writing, and then especially once COVID happened, like we went home, and that kind of changed things. So I wasn't actually in school, so that kind of like freed things up a little. And then I graduated, then I had even more time, and that's when it became more of a full-time job / career that it's kind of become as it is now.
So like in school, I was in the same kind of boat where I couldn't cover MMA because there wasn't really like a way to do that. There was guys like Ariel Helwani. He was really like the only one who was kind of doing it back then. And him doing it independently before he was with MMAfighting.com or with ESPN or any of that stuff. So for me, it was the same kind of thing where it's like, I got to cover baseball because that's the thing that's available for me to cover. Okay, I guess I'll do that, even though I'm not that into it. But at the same time, this relates to like the media scrums and that kind of stuff too. How would you even like define wrestling journalism? Because it's like a tough thing when, like, I was talking to Jeremy off air, and like technically I'm in wrestling media, but like I do not consider myself to be a journalist, but I have a lot of relationships with a lot of independent wrestlers who may tell me something about them signing somewhere, and if I decide I want to report that, I become a journalist even though I don't want to be. But like at the same time, you just want to report things balanced like you would in any other sport. But it's also a sport full of predetermined results and things that can change backstage. And like you might actually hear something that's going to happen. You report it and then it doesn't happen, but it's because the plan actually did change and there's nothing you can do about that. So I guess my overall question is like, do you see those challenges like yourself in wrestling journalism? And is there any way you can even like try to define what wrestling journalism even is? Because that's kind of a question a lot of people are asking right now.
I mean, for me, I think I'm even more on that side of it, where I definitely don't think I'm a journalist at all. I really just, I write news, but it's not me reporting it. I transcribe things that other people say from interviews. WrestleZone and as one of many websites, like it aggregates what other people are reporting, and that's the way it works. So I can't really speak to like what it means to report something versus like and to be a reporter. I think it's something that's one of the downsides of wrestling media, is that like it is so undefined, and it is that I think it gets a lot of criticism, and I'm sure what we might talk about it. But like at a scrum, you have some people actually asking hard-hitting, pressing questions, some people asking pure, admittedly like fan questions that aren't quote unquote news, but they're still like newsworthy. It is very like messy, and I do think there's a lack of definition in a lot of ways. Because again, I don't think I'm a journalist at all. I've never once pretended to be. I never once will say that I am. I'm a writer, but I'm not a reporter. And I think that's a difference. I think they get lumped together to a fault, and I think it's important to kind of differentiate. There are people who actually do report, who are journalists, and there are plenty of people, myself included, who are not. And I think maybe that's one thing the whole field can kind of strive toward, is more of a defined like difference, and more than anything.
That's a really good explanation, by the way. The difference between writing and reporting. Like, I think that's a pretty fair line to put there. And since you mentioned it, I was very interested. You were a part of it was a recent AEW scrum, correct? And there was a lot of hard-hitting questions in that. I mean, there was a lot of things that came out of that scrum, and a lot of things that people were talking about, serious things and wrestling related things, a whole bunch of stuff. What were you? I guess what was your experience like with that? Because that was your first AEW scrum, correct? So what was your experience like? And also, that's why I'm asking you, because like, even though you are a writer, you are going to be lumped in with everybody in that room as wrestling journalism's in that scrum. So wrestling journalism's, oh my gosh, I called you a wrestling journalism. But anyway, what was your experience like?
I mean, first off, it was just really cool to be a part of it. For someone like me, I've never done anything like that. I'm a huge fan of AEW, so it's like, and I've had to cover many scrums before, so I've always got to like see what it is, but not to actually be part of it. So just to be part of it in the first place was really, really cool, and like, I guess validating in some ways, like to kind of reach that level of like, oh, I'm actually here, and I'm asking Tony Khan a question. I'm asking Tony Storm what she thinks about X, Y, or Z. So that was just really, really cool, and something I really appreciated in the first place. And like, that wasn't lost on me. Like, I didn't take that for granted. It sounds bad. I don't look at it that way though. Like, I'm not looking at it like, oh, I'm lumped in with all these people that are here for anything bad that comes from it. I'm like, I'm not, like, ironically, I may not have asked anyway, but several other people asked about the Chris Jericho stuff, about all the stuff surrounding that. So by the time that like it came to me, it was like, okay, like I think by the time I got to ask Tony a question at that point, I had been asked I think 4 times, maybe 3 times. So me asking again would have been, I think, overkill. And like, it was interesting for me, like especially during the Tony Khan portion, you know, asked about Chris Jericho, asked about X, Y, and Z. And then like it felt like at 20-25 minutes until I actually asked him about MJF, and that felt like one of the bigger things to ask about. Granted, there's a lot of belief that he probably resigned, but we're supposed to like kind of enter World's End as if, okay, he actually could be leaving, his contract is supposed to expire, and like nobody had remotely asked him yet. So finally I did, and someone else asked after me. So, but no, it is interesting. Both of this scrum and obviously All Out 2022, like Brawl Out and stuff like that, and scrums after that, they get kind of like defined by a certain controversy, and then that kind of drives the conversation. Well, this one is the Chris Jericho thing, but I don't look at it like, I mean, I was there. I was just there, not as a fan. Obviously, I was there. I was, you know, representing what the sites I work for, but I wasn't there to ask about Chris Jericho. You know, I originally. My wife and I drove up to the pay-per-view that day, and I wasn't really aware of what was happening all that much. Like, there was some speculation, something brought like vague about Chris Jericho, and then it kind of became more definitive, roughly, at least in terms of like what people had thought was going on, what seemed to be going on. It also, I don't even know. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't really know what was happening by the time the scrum started, because I was literally driving. And then once I kind of put the two together, I started like reading up on what was being said. But then again, like multiple people asked, and I didn't feel at my place to do so, because I thought it would have been asked and answered multiple times. And when you saw Tony had said the same thing probably 3 times, it's like, what merit is there in me asking about this? Let's do something else instead. So that's what I did.
I think that's totally fair for what it's worth. I mean, sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
Oh, I think Colin is more of a journalist than anybody been on the show. He feels like he's in a war bunker right now. After the power's gone out a couple of times, and now the lights are down and everything. No, I think that's fair, because I covered the scrum, and Colin, you were there, but yeah, he had been asked 3 times, and he gave the same AEW is the safest place. That's all you were going to get out of him at that. There was no other. We had Phil Strom on In the Weeds, and he framed it. He outright mentioned Chris Jericho and was like, is there been anything towards Chris Jericho? Have you investigated Chris Jericho? And it was just can't comment on internet rumors. So it was a yes or no question, and he gave a maybe answer. Not even a maybe. He gave a non yes or no answer. So he wasn't going to give anything else. If you ask again, like, I don't think there's a harm in that, but at the same time, what the answer is going to be. So you might as well see if you can get something else out of him. And I thought you did good asking about the MJF situation, because that was a topic. And again, he gives the answer of like, well, we'd love to work with MJF. He's always looking back in it. It's like, you're only going to get what you're going to get out of Tony at these things. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand, or maybe they do understand, but they just want to get on a high horse of like, ask him this, ask him this, ask him this. And it's like, he's going to no comment you on just about everything. And once you ask him once, he's already said his answer, and you're going to get a repeat of that answer. So there's no reason to ask him multiple times. I think the Jericho situation was a little bit different, and he got pressed on that, and he gave the answer he was going to give. You mentioned the talk of what is a wrestling journalist and everything. It's one, I think there's very few. And I don't know how many people actually want to be wrestling journalists. I'll use quotes like Sean does. Like, people have their own, just the content that they want, right? Like, not everyone is there to ask a hard-hitting question, and that's okay. They're there to get content of when Steve Fall was at the whatever press conference, and he asked EO Sky about Taylor Swift. That was a question that was gonna play big to me, but like to a certain audience of like, oh yeah, this is gonna get covered. And it's like, some people are there to get short little cool haha clip moments, and let's ask a funny question about this. And then other people are there to maybe ask more of a real question. But you got to respect whoever is there to do it in that way. And other people got to understand who is there to do what. Not everybody is there, again, to ask a hard-hitting question. Sorry to ramble about all of that, Colin, but it's not a well-defined medium. It's really not. It's really not. Like, I don't want to fully speak for Colin, but I know what Colin does at Fightful, and I know generally what you do at WrestleZone. I certainly don't consider myself a journalist. I am not afraid to ask the questions that I feel need to be asked anytime we do interviews, but that's just because that's stuff I want to know. I want to ask about the pressing topics that are relevant to me. So I would ask these questions. I completely understand if other people don't want to ask those questions. Look, if I ever interview Bryan Danielson at one of these scrums and Bryan Danielson is in whatever, I don't give a shit. I'm going to be like, how much tree semen you eat this morning, Bryan? That's going to be my question to the man. Like, I don't care about anything else that he did on that show, because that's my particular brand of questioning. All right, to recircle back to everything and make this about you, Colin, and not about wrestling journalism and stuff. Starting up with Fightful, tell everybody about getting started with us here at Fightful.
So for a background, I started with WrestleZone 2019, and that was kind of it for a while. I was doing some other things on the side. I'm a big fan of comic books, so I wrote about like comic book news here and there, and that was like a side thing I had for a while. At some point, especially once the pandemic started, we're sent home, and I was living at my mom's house, and I was like, okay, I want to eventually get out of here. So I took a second job. I was actually at Sportskeeda for a bit, and I worked there. So now I had the 2 jobs there, and then eventually a door opened with Fightful, and thankfully I applied and got the opportunity. And like I'd always wanted to, because I always viewed it as like the place to be in a lot of ways. So I was very fortunate to start there, and I give it kind of a similar thing in some ways, where I started kind of like pretty low stakes. Like I think I was doing just the late night shift, a couple of nights of the week. and I think Sundays as well. And then that's like increased here, like it kind of ends up going on in some ways. So no, like and then by starting with Fightful, then I left for Skita, and I've been down to 2 jobs, thankfully. So it's been good to kind of have that at least. But no, I've like I said, I looked at Fightful for so long as like a place I wanted to be, and then I wasn't. So that was like kind of stuck with me a little bit, and finally getting there was like, oh, I made it. It's where I want to be. And it was really, really cool to be able to have my responsibilities at WrestleZone, and then to also join Fightful. Because Jeremy, I've told you before, I've looked up to you for ages. You know, I think I seriously think you're one of the best in the field of what we do. Whatever it is that we do, I think you're one of the probably the very best at it. Because again, we're not reporters, we're writers or whatever you want to say, and I honestly respect the hell out of you and what you do. So being able to work with you, learn from you has been amazing, and I really appreciated that. And then being, working under Sean and being able to like work with Sean in that way has been really great. We're just sort of a wonderful team kind of across the board to finally be part of it. This has been really, really cool. And no, it's cool. Like there's a lot of freedom with what we do here. Like Jeremy, you write about Taylor Swift and tree semen, and there are a lot of fun. There's a lot of fun things you can do. I've had stretches where like I'm the Matt Cardona guy, or somehow Bronson Reed's tweets about meat have become my beat somehow. So that's been fun. There's just a lot of fun things you can do. Or you see a funny tweet and you're like, I think that's going to play well, and you do it. Or a funny quote that maybe you wouldn't get necessarily elsewhere, but like, I think that gets a good traction, so you go for it. You have that freedom to do it. So no, seriously, it's I really appreciate being part of the team here. I think it's a great team all across the board, and I'm very happy to be part of it. So I really enjoy what I do here.
I'm curious because I'm maybe one of the, I shouldn't say one of the few. There's probably quite a few people now at Fightful that I've just been here a long time now, like over 5 years. So I've seen a lot of new faces over the years.
It's like you and Pulowski are the 2 longest, right? And then I might be 3rd after that. Like that might be the pecking order.
It's crazy.
Longest.
I mean, I was mainly just on Select outside of like TNA reviews and the UFC stuff. I guess. I'm trying to remember what I was gonna say now, but it had to do with all the changing faces and stuff. What I was gonna say is because I never started like writing for Fightful. I was more like on like the content side. I knew how to use OBS back when no one else did, so I was able to help with a lot of stuff. Fightful was first like starting to really grow and whatnot. What is it like? Like, what does that look like behind the scenes when you're doing like? Is like Colin? Do you like decide on like a headline and then it has to go to Jeremy and Jeremy has to like sign off on this, or no, you just give him free reign, Jeremy?
Oh, go ahead, Colin.
No, I was gonna say like there are some things where it's like you just try to have a good headline, or it's like if I need help, I'll try to bounce ideas. Like I think it's very collaborative a lot of ways where it's like we have Slack, so it's like, oh, here's this quote. What's the best way to put this? Because like sometimes if someone's saying 3 really good things in one one quote, you don't want to like miss out on a certain angle. It's collaborative. You try to like find out the best angle for it while being obviously accurate and truthful. There are times like for me, on a Monday night, like after Raw ends, there's like a Raw digital exclusive. No one else is up at 1 a.m. So I'm like, all right, I gotta try and do the best I can to get a good headline. And if there's a better one, yeah, maybe. But like you don't always have the ability to bounce off someone. But more often than not, 1 p.m. on a Wednesday, several people are around you like, hey, what do you think about this? And it's not only like wanting to maximize, it's also like, hey, this person said this. Is this headline fair? Because you don't want to like say they're saying something they're not. So, but like I said earlier, like there's a lot of freedom in general, and then it's like you don't have to always run everything by everybody. When you start off, you do. Jeremy's been a great like supervisor, but like I've been able to kind of prove that I can be trusted to not screw the pooch, I guess, for lack of a better word. So, it's a good balance that where it's like it's collaborative and also, we're a team.
It looks like what it really looks like, Jensen, is me yelling everybody to work harder and do more work. That's what it really looks like. No, Colin got it right. Of like nobody like really runs anything by me technically. It's just we kind of call what we're gonna do. If it's like a match, AEW announces a match, that's very simple, straightforward, something like that. And any type of announcement is pretty straightforward. If it's like a tweet, then things can get a little iffy of like, okay, what's the context of this tweet? I'll use an example. Kota Ibushi tweeted something the other, I guess it was Sunday night, right? Sunday night. And he mentioned like retirement. And it was like the translation was like retirement is near or close or a thing. It's like, you know, after AEW ends, it ends in Japan. And some engagement account or some random account that I never really heard of, like tried to frame this as Kota Ibushi. Yeah, like Kota Ibushi says he's going to retire at the end of his AEW contract. And I'm like, if you look at the translation of that tweet, I didn't get that at all. Like the only thing I would surmise from it was after his AEW contract ends, he might go back to Japan and retire there. That's what I got out of it. And then so Colin and I just kind of discussed it of like, yeah, this is how I read it. And then Colin's like, okay, so should I hold off on this? Like, yeah, just hold off because like, I don't know how to frame that. And the tweet Kota was replying to was like nothing, like you couldn't get there was no context of retirement or anything. So you couldn't really get anything out of it. So I was like, yeah, just hold off. Cause like, I don't want to frame it in a bad way. That Kota is, I don't know if Kota's paying attention, but we certainly do have wrestlers who pay attention to our website and to our headlines and everything. If they feel they've been misrepresented or something, then that looks bad on me or Sean. Like I've had to reach out to plenty of wrestlers of just like, didn't mean it like this, or what do you think we could have done here? And then some are pretty chill about it. And they're like, yeah, no worries. Like, I get it. Like, I appreciate you mentioned this. And then some are just kind of like, they don't get it. Like they're not even misrepresented. This is what they said word for word. And they're still just mad about it. And it's like, well, you can't really do anything. You're just going to be mad regardless. Like, what am I supposed to do about this? But yeah, if anything needs like clarified and stuff, largely with headlines, because as we've learned, Colin, that's all a lot of people are going to read is like, oh, what's the headline say? Then we got to make sure there's enough context and clarity in the headline to where it's not misrepresenting the quote or has nothing to do with the quote or anything like that. And that's where really the collaboration comes in more than anything.
Are you we can explain a little more about how the meat is made, like so everyone knows how this website runs behind the scenes. Are you Jeremy? It's like the boss, right? Being like you're. It's funny because we never talk about work ever. It's so funny. So, are you delegating all this, or is this just like anyone who's like available at the time is constantly
I'm
like just searching
terrible
stuff?
At delegating?
Okay,
I'm god awful at delegating.
So it's on Colin basically. Like when he's on shift, he's got to be paying attention to the wrestling news, and it's on him to make sure that he's getting it out there. And you have the trust. He's been doing like you're even if you're not around, he has the trust of like putting a headline out there.
So I'll try to make this very short because this is not about me, and I'll put Colin over.
Well, I think this is interesting for a lot of people who would want a route of like what Colin's doing. There's a lot of people who want to write about wrestling and want to work for wrestling websites. I think this is actually really interesting stuff for people to know.
I mean, there's a lot of people who come to me and want to write for our website, and I'm just like, I don't know, we don't have openings, man. So because I've been here as long as I've been here, and because it literally used to just be me and Andrew Thompson, the GOAT, right? Like it used to just be us two. That was it. I would work weekdays. There was no times. Like it was just weekdays. That's it. What does weekdays mean? I don't know. Midnight to midnight every single day. And Andrew would work weekends. That's all it was. That is what I basically grew up on this website. It was a 3-man staff, me, Sean, and Andrew. And it was a lot less busier back then because AEW hadn't officially started. I joined in 2018, summer of 2018. So AEW hadn't just started. It hadn't been the pandemic. So not everybody in the world had their own podcast and everything. So that's how I started. That's how I just kind of grew up doing all the news and stuff. And then I got very good at it from there. Since then, we've grown. We've added Robert. We've added Colin. We've added Skylar. We've added Corey as well. And now it's basically everyone is on for what is essentially a shift. Like Skylar basically works 9:30 to 12 Colin works 12 to 4. Skylar will work like 12 to 4 or 4 to 6. And then Robert will work 6 to 8 or 6 to 10. But basically, I have set this. This is my own doing because this is how I generally wanted to set it. Is I make sure there's someone that's theoretically on from 9:30 in the morning to whenever Colin decides he's going to stop working in the night. Like that's how I set it. And I set it that way so I could basically come and go as I please with the understanding, and I think Colin will attest to this, with the understanding that I'm still going to put in enough work to where no one is like, oh, why isn't Jeremy working this certain time or whatever? Like I still put in the hours that I need to put in. It might just, it's just very erratic. Like I don't theoretically or technically need to cover Raw. I can't, if I don't want to help on Raw, I don't need to help on Raw. I'll do other stuff. I'll do quotes, or I just won't fucking work for once in my life. So that's how I've set it up. Colin is technically like 12 to 4 on weekdays, and then stuff at night, like 10 to like 1, I think, at night. And then Sundays, it's like, I don't even know what you do on Sunday, 7 to whenever on Sundays. This is what I love and appreciate about Colin. And this is why I trust Colin with anybody, with everything over anybody else, is Colin's jumping on at like 10, and then he's staying on past 4, and then he's helping during the shows if need be, and then he's staying on late and everything. Colin is very much in the similar mindset of me of like, if there is shit that needs to be done, we are going to do it. And again, that's how I came up. So that's what I'm just sort of used to doing. And I hope everyone understands, like the staff understands that like I come and go as I please, because I'm going to put in my output is going to still remain very consistent and very strong. But yeah, Jensen, to long story short, technically there is one person on from 9:30 to basically 1 o'clock every single day. And then I kind of come and go as I please.
Nice. Okay. That makes sense. Colin, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate Jeremy as boss?
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. Jeremy's great.
I can't give raises, Colin. If I could,
I know.
I would. I can't though.
No,
I always cool. I will say I always vouch for you. Like Sean does ask my input on this stuff, and I always say the one person I'm never worried about is Colin. Like I know Colin will be.
Who are you most worried about?
To do stuff. I'm not going to bury anybody. I know Colin will be around. I know Colin's output's going to be there. I know if someone goes down, he will be willing to step up. You worked through COVID this week, which I was very upset about.
He's got COVID right now, by the way. Everyone who's watching this, Colin's doing this with the sickness, so we appreciate that.
I was like take a break, man. Just like it's okay. I promise you nothing bad's going to happen on a Sunday that like I can't be covered the next day or something. But like Colin is definitely the person I trust the most when it comes. And that's why I largely take my breaks on like the afternoons of days, because one, I'm up at like 7 o'clock working on stuff. And then now I do multiple shows a week and everything. But usually from like 1 to 3 is when I'm like, all right, I got to just take a break. That's when Colin is around. And that's when I'm like, all right, Colin's around. I feel good about things. Other times I'm like, all right, I got to be around because I don't know what could happen here.
Do you have like a favorite story or headline or anything that you like wrote for Fightful, Colin?
Probably one of the meat ones, Bronson Reed. Those are always pretty fun because he just like when you have a tweet and someone just like literally says something and you're like, you don't even have to try. It's right there. I remember. Like only was recent one of Bronson Reed's tweets about like he said something about his meatballs or something like one of the spots at a live event. He was like, "Don't worry, the meatballs are fine," or "Everyone loves his meat" or something. I don't know, those are some fun like easy like throwaway posts or whatever. There's probably a better answer where it's like some of the like a quote for a headline for a quote I worked hard to transcribe or something, but. I mean, yeah, probably one of those kind of things. Like they're just fun, you don't have to like really think about it, just do it. But if I could think of a better example, I would. But like those kinds of ones always gonna stand out.
It's okay. I know I'm putting you on the spot too. It's hard to like name any of your favorite stuff when like you're asked right on the spot for it. So I get that too. Would you? Oh, there was another question I was gonna ask based on that. what was it? Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, it was about.
Quickly.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Jeremy. I'll
quickly, I will say when the John Silver stuff, when he was on Dark Order or being the Elite, now being the Dark Order, Colin would do a very good job. And this is one of the good things about Fightful is we do have a lot of freedom to just write dumb headlines. So if John Silver was talking about like climaxing or something, Colin would turn that into some type of headline. So he does a good job of like going through being the Elite, now being the Dark Order, and like picking out just some like stupid skit, stupid bit that happens and like getting a headline off of that.
So Colin gets it. Colin
Definitely gets it. Yes.
What I was going to ask actually it was actually kind of unrelated, but it was I just heard you kind of mention it a little earlier. I'm just curious. You mentioned you're like really big into comics and you had covered that previously. Do you have like a favorite comic book, like superhero or anything like that?
Easy answer is probably Batman. Deadpool's another big one. A lot of like the big ones like Spider-Man. Deadpool's another favorite. It's always been Batman. Those probably number one.
Do you collect comics or any like memorabilia for that kind of stuff? You're not a collector?
I mean, I have some stuff. If my pile were out, you might be able to see. I have some stuff in my office, like I have posters and some figures and stuff. Like I'm definitely not a collector, especially like we're in an apartment right now and we want to move. So like I'm not in like collection mode. I'm in like try to keep things minimal mode. Maybe someday if we have a house, I'll like splurge a little bit and get some kind of stuff. And now like I don't have the time to read comics much anymore. Like they're sometimes like pockets of time, or in the past in pockets of time, I'll be like, oh, spend some time reading comics, like after I'm done working. But by now it's like by the time I'm done working, I just want to go to bed. And then like in the morning it's like I have other stuff to do. And it got to the point where I was like, I'd read like one comic a week. I'd go to the store and get one comic. That's pointless because like if it's a weekly series, you're fighting a never-ending battle on that one. So yeah, maybe someday I'll circle back to it and kind of get back to that kind of stuff. But more just kind of a casual consumer in that sense.
Well, I know you're saying you're not collecting stuff right now, and you're kind of in more like downsize mode, which I get that. But ironically enough, me downsizing my collection is what led to my really, really, really bad addiction to where it is currently. Like I started trading my things in. Like I was like, I don't need so much stuff. This is years back. I was like, I don't need so much stuff. I started going to this place called McKay's in Nashville, and they take like pretty much they'll buy anything from me pretty much. So I started selling them back, like old action figures and video games and a whole bunch of stuff. And they'll give you either cash or store credit. And usually I would take the cash. But this one day I was like, the store credit would just be better for like the amount that they want to give me. So I started walking around the store and I wound up using the store credit to buy wrestling action figures, like ones that I didn't have. And then that just led down this slippery slope that I'm at now that has gotten absolutely insane. So there's still hope for you, Colin. I know you're saying that you're downsizing right now, but maybe one day you can start collecting stuff, because like I'm not into the superheroes or the comics so much. I'm really into like Jay and Silent Bob. I appreciate like their appreciation for it, like in their universe for their movies and stuff. But that seems like an even slipperier slope potentially than like the stuff I collect with like wrestling. There's just so many action figures, so many comics, so many of these movies. It's kind of cool though that you're like in that world though, because it feels like it'd be a fun world to be a part of. I just don't know a whole lot about it.
Yeah, and I've always liked it because like there's a lot of crossover with wrestling if you think about it. So they just, if you kind of really get down to the basics, it's like good and evil, and then people in costumes, and if you suspend your disbelief and like storytelling. So I've always kind of enjoyed that. Like they're very, very different, but there's actually a lot of overlap too.
How do you feel about like Batista and like Guardians of the Galaxy, like those kind of performances?
Oh, huge fan. Jack's the best. Yeah, and stuff like that. Black Adam wasn't so good. I didn't love Black Adam, but I love Peacemaker. Peacemaker is awesome. So like seeing some of that kind of stuff, the crossover, the actual crossover between the two worlds is really cool to see sometimes.
I was going to ask. I have nothing to add on the comic front, by the way. That's not my. You want my opinions on Batista? I think everybody knows how I feel about Batista. That's the man right there.
Yeah, dude. You're just in a Mr. Beast video. You know I'm all about that.
I know. I did a post on that because I was like, this is
saw.
good crossover stuff right here.
I watched it immediately. I have my reminders. There's only one YouTube channel that I have my alarm set for. Outside of Fightful, of course, that I have my alarm set for. And it's because Mr. Beast gives away so much stuff that I like being one of the first to watch his videos, see if he's doing a giveaway. Because every now and then he'll send me free stuff. I've gotten like free chocolate from him. I've gotten free parts of his pieces of his set. Yeah, I have a little piece of like a little Jenga piece he used in like one of his videos because I was there fast enough to like get in on like the free offer. And like, anyway, shout out Mr. Jimmy, if you ever see this, bro. Shout out Mr. Beast because CD is our shout out here on YouTube. So,
I was popping on something else. I'll tell you guys off air.
Oh, come on, say it. Tell the whole world, Jeremy. What do we got?
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding, dude. Not if it's not good.
No, it's not. Like, did you see this mess I caused on Twitter tonight?
No, I've been on.
Yeah.
Colin, what did you do?
So I was watching Nathan McKinnon highlights because I was just bored. I actually had some family stuff going on, but Tony Khan is in a big old argument with USA Network, and Tony is tweeting. And have you seen my bit of not many people say this? It's not often said, but if you really think about it, this person is right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I said Tony Khan was right tonight because he was making trends and stuff, and I just started a war. And my wife messaged me, and apparently, you know, one of these loser idiots replied, "He ain't going to fuck you, little bro." And my wife just commented on that, so that's all. I was just laughing at it. All right, this interview's off the rails, absolutely off the rails. I'm sorry, Colin.
Let's talk more about Colin. What else do you like, man? Who's your favorite wrestler?
Oh man, tough one. Top of my head, probably like it's a three-way tie with like MJF.
MJF.
No. MJF, Bryan Danielson, and Will Ospreay would probably be like.
Oh, this is a lie. It's Matt Cardona, 100%.
So okay, I'm like he's always got like that spot, right? But like, it's more of that's like a nostalgia pick, right? I don't know. If it is like people I'm really enjoying right now, I think those are really the top three. But I'll always have Matt Cardona in my heart.
Colin pops me so much every time he wants to do a post on a Matt Cardona tweet. I'm just like, oh, I respect it so much. Look, I love it. You got your beat that it's easy posting because Cardona replies to everything and has a funny reply to everything. It just always pops me when you're like, oh, I'm getting this Cardona tweet. I was like, yeah, you are, Colin. Yeah, I respect it.
We're actually before people see this interview during our live show, we're actually one of our indie spotlight this week is actually going to be that the major Bendies got Jay and Silent Bob licensed for their action figure line, which I think is kind of cool. Like, I mean, I'm a huge Cardona fan too, so I think that's kind of funny that like that wound up being your guy. He's the man.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I loved like I don't know something about it when I was a kid, like 2009, Zack Ryder, the one trunk on the gear. I was like, that's it. And I loved his theme song. I had it on my phone for years till they took it down. The best. Oh, he's great.
I respect your love for Matt Cardona so much. All right, so Danielson, Ospreay, and MJF. Okay, well, all AEW guys except MJF, who is allegedly not under contract. Did you watch Danielson and Okada from Wrestle Kingdom?
I did not. I got to go back and rewatch that. I know. I'm slacking.
I actually don't know like when you sleep because you are on at crazy hours, kind of like I used to be before I got kids, and I was like, I gotta sleep at some point. What do you do in your free time that is not wrestling? I guess comic books, but is there anything else?
Right now, I mean, ironically, having COVID like has forced me to get better sleep hours because it's like by the time I'm like actually done and like it's okay for me to go to bed, I'm like I need to go to bed. And then I usually go to the gym in the morning, but then out of COVID I don't, so it's like I'm sleeping in a little bit. It sounds bad. I don't have like that many hobbies. Like I spend time with my wife and whatever she wants to do. It's like we'll see a movie or go shopping or whatever. I watch TV and stuff like that. Like I try to relax when I'm not working because like I'm just Jeremy, you get it. And I don't even have the kids component, but like just in general, it's like sometimes I just need to like unwind, and that's kind of my MO. But yeah, it's when I have time, I like to read comics and stuff, or either when I can, when I go to the gym, or just go for when it's not being horrible, I go for a walk or something, But that's about it. I mean, again, when you have a rough schedule, it's like you work, go to bed. Best case, you have a couple hours in the morning, and then you're right back at it again.
Is your wife a wrestling fan? And if not, what does she think about wrestling?
So she did, like, when we started dating, she did not know anything about it at all. We started dating in like August of 2018, and I started WrestleZone. It was like a very, very like 1-2 punch where like I said earlier, I got back into it, and then I wound up they had a SmackDown taping in Wilkes-Barre, and I was kind of roughly near the area where she went to Penn State and I went to Ithaca. So it was like, oh, that's kind of nearby, so let's go. So this poor woman, I drag her to a SmackDown taping, and she has no clue. None. She has never seen wrestling, has no idea what it's about. So I have to explain to her the whole time. And then during COVID, she got like locked in with me, so she'd have to watch it. Poor thing. And then like it's like in some ways, like especially on the AEW side, she became a fan. Like she liked what they were about. She had to sit through like 2019 WWE, and that was kind of rough. And then she likes some things, but she also really likes MJF. She really likes the Acclaimed. The Acclaimed pop her. Those are probably the two big ones. She really likes Willow Nightingale. Like we've been to several AEW shows, and like for the longest time, she's like, "Oh, is Willow going to be here?" And she wasn't. And then finally, we went to World's End. She was, and we both thought that was the funniest thing that it took that long. But she's actually become a big fan. So I remember we went to Collision in October, and like it was roughly on my birthday, and she's like, "Oh, let's go." And then we were waiting; there weren't any matches announced. And like I think the week before, we're watching, and they announced Kenny Omega MJF, and we both literally like marked out loud because like I really like MJF, she likes MJF, and we both like Kenny Omega. I was like, what are the chances like that happens at the show we're going to? Like literally world title match, that's really cool. So she's become kind of a fan, like by proxy / by extension of me, at first through necessity, and then she actually does like it in a lot of ways. But obviously, like she's able to have that distance of like she goes to bed, it's like, all right, I've had enough of this. She hates NXT like I do, so we have a lot of the same views. But
that's funny. That's cool though. That's all really cool actually. You mentioned Ithaca. This is very random. Have you ever seen the movie Road Trip?
No, I don't think I have.
Really? That's from that was Ithaca, wasn't it, Jeremy? Remember?
So.
Really? Yeah. The it's like old. I say old. I mean, this is back from the year 2000, probably the movie Road Trip. I mean, it's been a long time already.
Yeah, it was like 2000s.
It was like Tom Green and was it Breckenmeyer? Was that his name?
Breckenmeyer, Sean William Scott.
Yeah, Stifler. They were all. Well, he was Stifler in American Pie, but yeah, you know what I mean. That was I'm almost positive. They went to Ithaca and like the movie started.
It was
Ithaca.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
You should check that out. It's actually,
I will. No, it's cool.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time. It might not hold up well. I don't know, but I used to think it was really fun back when I was in middle school.
Yeah, I loved that shit when I was a teenager. I was like, oh, this movie is hilarious.
I'm gonna watch that tonight. Actually, I'm gonna find that. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
It's a very good film. All right, Colin, we'll start to wrap up here. The question you watch this show, the question that is coming. I don't know if you can get it with your power out right now, but the coolest thing in the room or wherever you're at.
Let me see. Can I here? Can't really see it because the power. Can you guys see that?
Backup.
Oh yeah, there we go. Media.
I saw.
I
saw you posted this on Twitter. Your wife made you the little shadow box with the media pass and everything and the ticket, and I thought that was very sweet of her.
Yeah, that was really cool because, like I said, going in the first place, I know. And also, just to pop Jeremy here, I do have an autographed Zack Ryder action figure.
Yeah, look at that.
That's one of the few things I do have.
That's good.
So I also have a Dolph Ziggler randomly. I don't know why I even have that, but yeah, that's probably it. Because like otherwise, it's just a couple of posters and stuff like that. Because like I said, for me, the AEW thing is like I don't know if I'm gonna get through that again because like half the time I have to cover the shows, and this lined up where it's like I was gonna be off for New Year's anyway because my wife and I tried to like get away a little bit to do something on New Year's, and then they had the show on Saturday. So we went, and then it wound up I got the credential. I was like, well, if I never get to go again, I got to go to that one. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, you're not allowed to cover any more shows. I need help during these scrums. They're too late for me. So you can't cover these shows. Anymore.
I got one last question for me, Colin. What ultimately, like, if you could pick like one like dream job, I guess, like in wrestling, like what would you want to do in wrestling, like long term? Or not even wrestling. Maybe it isn't even wrestling. Maybe you want to cover something else, or maybe you want a different job entirely eventually. Like, what would be like your dream job?
I mean, I always have this like dream of like being able to like somehow be part of AEW. I don't know how. Like they don't need me, obviously. Like I'm just a writer that like I have a writing degree. Like I don't have any need for me, but like somehow being involved with that. Realistic answer is just like something with a better schedule. And like that's just the way that this is. And so maybe some like Jeremy obviously can attest, like it never stops. And like you do what you have to do. So I ideally someday, I'd get to a point where I could have a decent schedule. But I don't know. I don't want to have an answer for like what the dream job. It's more so like what that job would come with.
Okay.
But I'm fortunate to say I love what I do, and I love being part of Fightful. I love being part of WrestleZone. I just hope that ideally someday we'll find a little more balance, because admittedly I overdo it. And Jeremy, I know obviously you get it. Like we're our own worst enemies in a lot of ways, where it's like we like to get stuff done, or we put that on ourselves. So it's like, yeah, I could probably have a better schedule, but like then stuff wouldn't get done, right? So I kind of put that on myself a lot of times. So that's kind of where I'm at. I don't have the answer for what the dream job itself is, but kind of more so like the conditions of it.
That's okay. That totally makes sense. And I have a good backup final question that will get an answer definitively, I'm sure. Okay, your prediction, WrestleMania.
This is what I thought your original question.
We got it. It was coming either way. We got to assume Roman Reigns only wrestles one night. Okay, that's the assumption. One night. We can't have these scenarios of like Roman main events both nights. Depends this title, that title. One Roman Reigns match at WrestleMania. Will he be defending the championship this year at WrestleMania against The Rock, or against Cody Rhodes, or against somebody else?
My gut, Stephen, I know you love Cody. I know. Believe me, I know. My gut, I can't see them bringing The Rock back if it's not for Mania. That's my gut feeling. That's
a tough pill to swallow, but it's the realistic. That's what's happening right now, unfortunately, I think. Yeah, Vinny Pacifico had the same answer last week. We almost cut him off the show as he was giving the answer. But we let you get the whole thing out. I'm obviously hoping for Cody at Mania. That's how I feel. But I mean, I'm gonna ask every guest up until WrestleMania, like up until it's like sure, obviously where the card's going. But so that's 2 now for The Rock versus Roman at WrestleMania, and 0 for Cody. So thank you, Colin. We appreciate you being on the show today, buddy.
I gotta say, Colin, I appreciate you. I respect how hard you work. Again, I trust you more than, no offense to anybody else, but I trust Colin more than anybody else on the staff when it comes to news. I know how hard Colin works. I know he takes this very serious. He wants to do a good job. He wants to do the best that he can. He is. I don't feel like I'm the best leader in the world. I feel like I try to give everybody the tools that I have and like the skills that I use, essentially, of like, truthfully, anybody can do this job. It's just a matter of like how serious you're going to take it and how much effort and work you're going to put into it. Because I can tell you every little thing that I do to do it to the level that I do it at. And then it's up to you if you're going to do it, if you're going to use whatever I tell you to use or follow and like this is how I do it. And Colin is someone who is taken all of that and is like, okay, I'm gonna do it this way. And I'm sure he's done it, found his own tricks and stuff throughout the way. But like, I give everybody the same blueprint that I follow, and it's like, here, this is what I do. People say I'm good at this. This is all I do. And Colin is someone who is, I feel, followed that and then put his own spin on things. I know how serious Colin takes it. I know how good Colin is at this. I'm not advocating for anybody to hire Colin away from us. If anything, I want Colin to continue to have a bigger role here at Fightful. And I know the wrestling news sucks. And I mean that in a lot of different ways. One of the biggest way I mean it is like, it's a full-on grind because it literally does not stop. There is literally something we could be doing every single second of the day. Everyone has a podcast. Everyone's doing an interview. There's always a show going on. You can literally cover something every single second of the day in wrestling news because there is just so much going on. There's no off season.
Any tweet any wrestler makes could be a story.
Legitimately. Yeah.
I know. I'm serious. Yeah.
Like there's so much to do. And I know Colin puts a lot on himself and I appreciate that. I also want to tell you, and I've told you this text to text, but I'm trying to tell you this face to face. Don't always put all that on yourself. Take your breaks. Realize that this shit is not worth it a lot of times because the news we are delivering it to are a bunch of fucking morons. And I don't mean our audience. Our audience is great.
You guys rock. I'm not saying any of this stuff about you guys. I'm not saying anything at all, actually. I'm just sitting
our audience. Look, the audience who watches this show, the audience who watches In the Weeds and stuff, they are great. The audience who is on Twitter, who reads a headline and doesn't read the article, or are in my mentions right now arguing about dumb shit, they suck. And that's the people who we are basically writing for because that's the people who consumes this the most. And like, it's unfortunate, but like, it's how it is. And it is not worth our own sanity to deliver the news to them just so they can get mad about it. It's not. It's truly, truly not. And I've had to learn that lesson. I really learned it a lot last year. I probably shouldn't have learned it a lot sooner, but it's oftentimes not worth this. Please realize, and again, I'm trying to tell you this person to person now instead of text to text. Please realize you are valued. I know how hard you work. I know how good you are at this. There's never, I wake up every day almost in fear of like, I'm going to get fired today if I don't do 20 posts. That's not going to happen. That's not going to happen to you. I know it's not going to happen to me. I can promise it's not going to happen to you. Like, it's okay to slow down and take a break and take time to yourself. And if this shit doesn't get done now, then and maybe you got to do it later, but like, that's a reflection on others and not on you. If you're not immediately doing it, you have your hours that you are set. You always work hard during those hours. You always work hard in hours that are past that. And like, you are good. I hope you know that. And you say for some reason you like me and appreciate me. Like, I hope you realize, like, I'm saying this genuinely of like, you are good. Please, more than anything else, take care of yourself. And wrestling news is fucking stupid. That's all I got. Sorry.
That's a good closing monologue.
I wanted to say that to Colin face to face because I've told him this like through Slack and stuff. Because again, I know how hard Colin works. I know how much he puts on himself. And like, I don't get to talk to Colin face to face. We've had one staff meeting the entire time I've been part of Fightful. And I think everybody had their camera off and I got made fun of because mine was the only camera who was on. And I don't think anybody talked in that staff meeting except for me and Sean. So I don't really get to talk to Colin on that level. So I wanted to say it to you now so you like understand all of this. And I don't know why I'm using this on air. I'm telling everybody out there as well, if you're thinking about doing this job or anything, one, you can be very good at it if you're willing to like sacrifice more than is probably worth it. Because if you're willing to like really put in that time in stuff, because what we do is not just aggregate. Like the transcription work we do, the finding, searching, making something out of nothing. That's a lot harder than just this other website out there who was like, what did Fightful do today? Okay, I'll just copy and paste everything Fightful did. Like, that's very easy to do. What we do is why I think we are the absolute best, is because we go out there and we actually try to find that kind of news before anybody else does it. That's why Matt Riddle is on a live stream shouting out Fightful, because I'm posting articles as he's doing a live stream, and the people are like, Fightful's already posted an article from this stream. It's like, yeah, because I'm watching live. Like, that's the stuff that we try to do, and it's different than everybody else. I think it's better than almost everybody else, and Colin's a big part of that.
I mean, to say the obvious
now.
Good stuff.
Say the obvious, I really appreciate that, Jeremy. That means a lot. So I try to do you proud, try to do Fightful proud, and to do good work. And I mean, we've talked about it obviously, but I really do appreciate that.
I can't really add much more to that. Yeah,
Colin, let everybody know where they can find you at.
I mean, Twitter's probably the best bet at CTN_2110. I'm probably most active there and not really anywhere else. So that's all there really is to it. And otherwise, obviously, my work at WrestleMania Fightful, you can see what I'm writing at any given point. And yeah.
Colin, we appreciate it. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate all the hard work you do for the website. Thank you for joining us today. I'm sorry this interview was all over the place. I'm sorry, guys.
I appreciate it. Yeah. I'm sorry my power. I mean, I'm sorry. I'm glad it.
Oh no, you were in the bunker, baby. Like this was good. In the bunker, hunkering down. Thumbs up. The subliminal messaging there. Colin, thank you, buddy. We really appreciate it. Guys, we'll be right back here on the Spotlight. Big thanks to Colin Tessier joining us in the Creators Spotlight. Look at Cresta. Cresta star in the YouTube chat. I hope you have a great day, Cresta. Good luck dealing with Joel Pearl tonight. Good luck with dealing with Joel Pearl on Saturday. At least you get to talk to Stephen Jensen on Saturday. Appreciate you checking out the show, Cresta. Appreciate everybody checking out the show. Appreciate everybody leaving a thumbs up on the video, subscribing to the channel, leaving super chats, just being active in the chat regardless. We appreciate it. We appreciate all the support for everything we do here on Fightful and here on the Spotlight. Guys, we'll be back next week recapping all the things that have happened in the world of wrestling. Maggie, we'll have you on the show. Here's the thing, Maggie. Jensen can only record interviews at certain times, and it's like 7:00 on like Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 7:00 our time. So I don't know what time that is for you, but if you're awake, we'd love to have you on the show. All right. You can just join the morning portion of the show since you're here. If you're able to join the morning portion, we'll figure something out, Maggie. Guys, we appreciate it. Head over to FightfulOverbooked.com. We got a lot of stuff over there this past week. It's 2 a.m. for you when we do our interviews. FightfulOverbooked.com. In the Weeds live 10 a.m. to noon Eastern every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We had Kushida on Monday. We had Jody Threat and Matt Cross yesterday. SP3 is filling in as the co-host tomorrow, but we will be there live tomorrow on In the Weeds, 10 a.m. Eastern. Coexisting 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on Fightful Overbooked with Maggie and with Rob Wilkins, who does a lot of good graphical work and has done the intro for FMC. You can check out FMC with myself and SP3 talking basketball, playing Love is Blind Mobile with the great Cher Delaware. Always a fun time playing some Love is Blind Mobile. Just head over to Fightful Overbooked. Subscribe. We are very close to 15,000 subscribers. If you would, subscribe and help us out and we get to 15,000, that would be pretty sweet. So go do that, everybody. Go to Fightful Overbooked, subscribe. Head over to Fightful.com, check out all the news. Head over to FightfulSelect.com, sign up for all the scoops from Sean Ross Sapp. And guys, we'll be back next week here with a brand new episode of The Spotlight. Everyone have a good Thursday. Everyone enjoy your weekend. There's a lot of wrestling to watch this weekend. Watch it. Don't watch it. Take a break if you need to. But if you're looking for wrestling to watch, plenty this weekend. We'll talk about it all next week. We'll talk about it all throughout the week right here on Fightful Overbooked. Bye, everybody.